Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions. Your host tonight is the author of the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Ma'at, the Pan-African Nationalist, Oni. Oni, what are we discussing tonight?
Peace, family. Today is episode 11 of The Enemy Within. You're watching the Pro-Black Perspective. Of course, we're on KWAZ Radio. We're going to come to quite a bit today. There was quite a few enemies within this week. We're going to follow up on the story from last week. Of course, did Molefi Asante betray Afrocentricity or Afrocentricity International, if you want to be more specific? Of course, we're going to look into what the free market's about. You know, is it actually good for us, right? And of course, we're going to ask, are there male pass-me's? Obviously, there are male pass-me's. So, sisters, you want to pay attention to this because there's going to be some people who you just don't want to associate, right? Now, before we get started, I do want to remind you all that we're part of a podcasting network.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
All right. So we're going to get to the document. By the way, peace, family. If y'all here, make sure y'all hit the like button. Tell your friends and family, subscribe and all that good jazz. And, drop a comment. Let me know you're here. I like to read the comments when I'm live. So, we're going to jump to this document. It's called Who Are the Enemies Within? And this week we have 3 BANs. Now, if you're ever confused about what these positions are, you just got to go to the top line, or to line number 2, and just read it. It says, bitch, ass, and shut your mouth. You know what I'm saying? I was only going to say nice people, but, we can dig it, right? First thing is this. Y'all suck at marketing, okay? This is what happened on April 10th, and I want you to understand this is an example of, and this is actually really related to Africa, right? Where, honestly, and I guess you could say it relates to me too, honestly, but we kind of just suck at marketing. So I'm going to show y'all an example of this sister who is, I guess, she's promoting her employer's business. And the thing is this, if I saw this myself personally, if one of my employees did this, I would have fired her on the spot. Okay? I would have fired her on the spot. So, let's see, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. Let's just go to it. So this is Ade Authority, right? She says, at work trying to secure my 2K. My employer has threatened to sack me if I don't hit target. Now, why would you tell them that your employer is going to sack you if you do not hit target? Like that already make me feel like this woman is on this is a bad employer. Look, it makes sense that if you have an underperforming employee that you would you tell them, hey, look, you have to meet a quota. That makes sense, right? You could put it that way, right? You could say, hey, look, I'm trying to reach my goal for this week. I'm trying to reach my goal for this month. Not too many people have been purchasing from me. Something like that. But instead, what she does is she says, hey, look, I did all of this work, and I'm going to be fired anyway. Right? I'm going to be fired anyway. And it's up to me and you to keep me from being fired so that my employer can walk away with the profit that he requires or what have you. He or she, who knows. Either way, this again, this is really, really bad marketing, because me personally, and I know a lot of other people, me personally, I wouldn't patronize this. I could imagine a lot of the comments. I mean, I didn't see all the comments, but I could imagine a lot of the comments are along the lines of, sis, you could do better. And then she tags him. My employer, corporate corporate Iwa makes the best Iwa Agian in Lagos. The sweet thing is you can order now, but it's like, this is not good advertising. Granted, there are some people who are interested, but of course, there are some people who are interested, but of course, it's a sob story nonetheless. But I'm just telling you, like, right now, we have to understand as a people that a part of one of our things that are holding us back is that, particularly if you're in Africa, when you go to Africa, if you haven't been, right? Oh, if you're in Africa, that marketing, real estate, internet navigation, web design, all of these things are very, very lacking. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you'll be well compensated if you go to Africa and do web design and marketing and all that stuff efficiently. But what I will tell you is that is a very big deficit on the continent. That's a very big deficit on the continent. And that in and of itself, does put us in a enemies within position, because like I said, this right here is really bad press for quote unquote corporate Iwa, right? So this brings me to a prompt somebody showed me earlier. They were like, hey, look, the problem we have is that 90% of those managing our resources have never managed anything successfully before. We need wealth creators. And this is Peter Obi to the PDP NWC members. Now, somebody brought this up to my attention to say that, I should go to Africa and start managing some resources. But, the reality is that I'll be part of the 90%. You know what I'm saying? The reality is that we'll be part of 90%. And it really comes back to, I want you to understand, it comes back to this reality of our people, right? The reality of our people having never, the reality of our people being put into positions, we need people in positions of authority, in positions of management, in positions of international trade. When historically, right, where we may have engaged in international trade, we may have done all this stuff, but the people who had actually done those things, a lot of them were killed and kidnapped and stolen and destroyed and robbed and there was a lot of devastation on the continent. And so now you just need some people, but the way how this predicament put us, right, is that the people that they put there, right, are the people that, for the most part, are trained by them to be lapdogs, right? So Lero says peace, Lero, right? And by trained by them to be lapdogs, what I mean is this: when you go to the public school system, because a lot of us went to the public school system. When you go to the public school system, you are not being trained to be the manager of resources. Okay? You are being trained to engage the management of resources. You understand what I'm saying to you? So you're not being trained to be the capitalist. You're being trained to speak with the capitalist. You're being trained to deliver to the capitalist, to report to the capitalist. You're not being trained to be the capitalist. And the reality is this: nobody really could train you to be the capitalist, or nobody would want to train you to be the capitalist. Okay? But what this creates for us is that we now have a problem. So you kind of see in the earlier post of the sister, and Tanzan says peace, so peace, Tanzan, right? The capitalists, what they will tell you is, so what happens with the lady is that there's a need for this businessman, right? There's a need for this business to, supply food to people, food delivery, so on and so forth, right? That's a thing, okay? This is a new custom for us as a people. It's a new custom generally, right? Delivering food is actually a very modern thing. But it developed, its modernity developed outside of the continent, right? And in a hyper consumerist ambiance, that a highly competitive hyper consumerist ambiance, right? When you develop inside of that zone, and then you take it out of that zone and say, hey, food delivery is actually a good idea, right? But if it's not in a highly competitive and nuanced sort of advanced economy in a sense, right? You're bound to run into problems of the other, the other aspects that make it so successful in the West. Example, right? I mean, not example, but like I said in the other image, the marketing is just garbage. You do not say, hey, my employer has my feet on the fire, because now he sounds like a jerk. Like y'all ever notice that? Now understand this. In the West, you will get fired if you underperform. That's just a normal thing. Have you ever seen an advertisement in the West? And you've seen a lot of advertisements. You're bombarded by advertisements. Have you ever seen an advertisement in the West where it says, hey, my boss will fire me if you don't buy my product? Like what? Like this is the capital of marketing. The capital of advertising. Have you ever seen an advertisement where it said, hey, my boss will fire me if you do not buy my product? This is the capital. But I think I exhausted that point. But yeah, this Ptah Htp character, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but if you're not, try to familiarize yourself. But yeah, this is it. 90% of our, and then like I said, the managing resources part. We have to understand that even though, so ancient Africa or classical Africa, right? We manage gold. Gold. Gold was desired all over the world. Gold was desired in China. Gold was desired in India. Gold was desired in Europe. Gold was desired in America. Gold is a good thing, right? We did not manage coltan. We did not manage bauxite. We did not manage silicone or what have you. Now what happens is this: the Western world wants bauxite, wants coltan, wants uranium, wants silicon. Okay? Somebody has to manage it. Now again, obviously the African continent has gone through quite a bit of devastation, so it's very improbable that even the managers of gold are sitting around. But bauxite, to this day, I tell you, I would talk to most people listening here, and there's not too many people listening here. But, all right, most people that you will come across in the next week don't know a thing about bauxite. You know what I mean? Maybe half of them can spell it. But, just again, we have to go about the enemies within. So this is Taraji P. Henson. This is just a ridiculous thing. I'm just going to slide right by it. But this is one of the things that happened this week. And this is one of the issues with us as a people, all right? So because black Americans... well, I shouldn't read this. But anyway, President Biden appoints Taraji P. Henson and Chris Paul to HBCU advisory board. You understand? I mean, this is where we are as a people. This is Howard University's, the HBCU advisory board, right? Historically Black College Advisory Board, and at the top, or has a voice in the room with the professors, is Taraji P. Henson. And I don't know who this Chris Paul is, but from the looks of it, he's probably equivalent to like his credentials are probably equivalent to Taraji P. Henson. And I mean, this is what I was speaking about last week. It doesn't matter what you may think of my capabilities or what you may think of your capabilities. The reality is this, that when things turn around, right? When it comes to, hey, somebody has to manage this bauxite, We have to deliver bauxite somewhere. Or the Western world wants uranium. Somebody got to do it. Somebody has to do it. When it comes to it, it's going to be Taraji P. Henson. It's not going to be me. Not that I don't want it to be me. But there's two aspects to this. One, these white boys not going, like these white boys who want the uranium don't want it to be me. Because see, I tell them, look, if I'm giving you some uranium, you better give me something in return. See, Taraji P. Henson just happy to be there. You know? She happy to get dressed up, look cute. You know? Chris Paul, look like he a handsome dude. He want to be there, look swag. You understand? Me, I'm gonna be like, look, if I'm gonna give you this uranium, you better give me something back. Cause see, if the uranium is worth a lot to you, then you better make it worthwhile for me to give it to you. He don't want to hear that. White boy don't want to hear that. He want a cute little thing, or he want somebody who easily pleased. You know what I mean? Chris Paul is just smiling already. He's smiling already. You tell him, hey, look, man, cause that's what I'm saying. I want you to understand. So I don't know what the advisory board of the HBCU does. I'll tell you the truth. I don't think Taraji P. Henson knew either. Maybe she did. I don't know. Okay. Regardless, sit my black ass up there on the advisory board. You know what's being advised? You think President Biden wants me to advise on the historically black college situation in America? The President of the United States of America says, hey, you know what? I think this black man should be on the advisory board. No, he wants Taraji P. Henson. Why? Honestly, I couldn't tell you, but I think Arthur Zora, so shout out to Arthur Zora, shouts out. I think Arthur Zora points it out. President Biden does something nice for a celebrity. Shit, boy, he did something nice to all of us. You know what I mean? It's like when the Oscars did something and shut down on this Will Smith, and all these black folk are like, damn, you did that to us. Like, no, they ain't do it to you, stupid. You wasn't even invited. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wasn't even gonna be there. You wasn't even a damn seat filler, man. What you talking about? You did it to us. It got nothing to do with you. I'm telling you, and my thing is this. If I were Taraji P. Henson, real talk, I would have said, no, I'm not a freaking professor. I don't know anything about no universities. Why would you, oh, okay. See, Afrojab says, really, it's aluminum. Bauxite is the ore. See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So Afrojab's the one person you're going to walk into who's like, yeah, well, we actually talking about aluminum. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? He's like, well, actually, we could process it into aluminum. See, Afrojab could be like, oh, they say, hey, we want some of your bauxite. And Afrojab says, no, you're going to get some of our aluminum. You know what I'm saying? You see a difference? Because Afrojab going to be like, no. We going to process it, and you just going to get our aluminum. They're like, well, that's going to cost us too much. And it's like, well, that's too bad. That's what you want. But that's not what you're going to get. You're going to get, yo, you want our bauxite? Here you go. You want our ore? Shit, have your pick. Just get me a fancy car. One of them cars you got. Like he's like one of them Oldsmobiles. One of them 1960s Ford built like a truck. Yeah, I want one of them. You give me that. I'll give you the whole mine. Shit. This white boy excited whenever he see I call him a Scotty. This white boy excited whenever he see a Scotty. Okay? He excited. Because he know what he can do. I tell you, like Taraji P. Henson. Taraji P. Henson on the advisory board is a no lose situation for the white power system. A no lose situation. If she's active, if she's inactive, it does not change the white power system. Not to say that if I'm there and I'm active, that's going to change the white power system. I'm not going to tell y'all that. What I'm going to say is that if I'm there and I'm active and I'm being heard, right? This white boy don't like that. This white boy now got to keep an eye on HBCU advisory board. See what President Biden could do, and this is the thing I want y'all to understand about a lot of black Americans, in fact. What President Biden could do is that he could call up Taraji P. Henson. What's going on over at HBCU? What's going on out there advisory board? And she'll tell him every damn thing there is to know. Why? Because he's the president of the United States. She's a fucking patriot. And look, I'll tell y'all this. I know some of y'all might be like, why you keep going on Taraji P and not Chris Paul? I don't know who Chris Paul is, honestly. Like I don't even I honestly I don't even know if he's a celebrity. You know, I don't even know who this man is. I know Taraji P Henson from some movies. I don't know who this Chris Paul is. Maybe I don't know. I mean, at this point, you know, when you reach my age, when you start getting gray hair, everybody kind of just look like somebody who remotely looks like them. You know, like real talk. I think Chris Paul looked like one of my like my cousin's boyfriend. Real talk. I don't even know if that's him. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. But anyway, what I'm saying though is yeah, she could call him. I'll tell you, there's this video actually, because I wasn't sure how I could fit in this video, right? But there's this video of this black American, right, from the 60s, okay? And he's spitting fire. He's spitting game. He knows, he looks like, he sounds like he know the system in and out, okay? But you know what's the problem with this video? The problem with this video is the video. He's telling this straight to the white man. He says, look, white man, you don't want me to have an equal chance, because if I had an equal chance, I would surpass you. So now the white man said to himself, look, I didn't even think about that, but real talk, if that's what giving you an equal chances, then I won't fucking do it, stupid. Why the fuck would you tell me that? Why would you reveal your hand? Why would you tell me that if I were to give you a fair chance, you would surpass me? Because now I'm not going to do that, stupid. Then he goes on, he says, look, man, we've been reading Che, we've been reading Fanon, and because we've been reading that, we're going to go about with revolution. So the white man says, oh, okay, hold on a second. So you telling me that this Fanon guy that I've been publishing, and this Che guy that I've been ignoring, that literature is going to make you more revolutionary? Well, I'm going to make your people not read it anymore, stupid. Why the fuck would you tell me all your fucking plans? That's stupid. And that's the thing. Like, I'm telling you, this is a thing. And I know y'all like, hey, man, Oni, you talking about black Americans again. Why are you doing that? And it's the reason why I'm doing that, I'll tell you the truth, right? Carlos A. Cooks, you got to go read that book, okay? If you haven't read Carlos A. Cooks, you got to go read that book. Carlos A. Cooks tells you about the Bandung Conference, okay? Bandung Conference, I actually heard somebody recently talk. Oh, yeah, I was watching this video. So this is going to be a video I'll talk about later where one of the earlier guests is his sister. And his sister is telling us that she was at the Bandung Conference she heard about the Bandung Conference. She met somebody from Hong Kong who was like, the Bandung Conference failed, right? But basically the Bandung Conference is basically when Africa and Asia said, we're going to unite together in order to resist the white power structure, okay? They said, hey, we're going to work together like Africa and Asia are going to be allies and fight against the European world. Okay? And it fell apart, obviously. But one of the things that happened in the Bandung Conference that you got to understand is this, that they purposely didn't invite African Americans. Carlos Cooks tells you they purposely didn't invite African Americans because they said one of the things about African Americans is that when you tell them something, they go back and tell white Americans. And sure enough, he tells you the situation. And he's now Carlos A. Cooks, he doesn't say African Americans. He says I can't remember the word he uses, but something like it's like what I say when I say a Scotty. He's talking about some like, you know, basically the traders, right? The traders among black Americans. But I think he did sometimes say he was black American a Scotty, right? But the idea is this: there was this one guy who did make it to Bandung. All right, his name is and he's a celebrated guy. Like when I was in my United African Movement, we would always hear about this dude, Adam Clayton Powell. So Adam Clayton Powell Jr., he actually has a statue on 125th Street. You know, he's this really good, quote unquote African American senator, like one of the more effective. No, not senator, House of Representative. One of the most effective black legislators in American history. Now, again, when you say black, he was a mulatto. All right, so you know it is what it is. But why I say that is to say that he went to the Bandung Conference, and when he came back, first thing he did was held a press conference and told a white man everything that he observed. They purposely did not show him anything because they knew that as soon as he came back, he would hold a press conference and tell the white man everything he observed. So what I mean, and this is the thing, but I want y'all to actually hear this video. I'm a little hesitant to show videos because if y'all don't know, like my video last week was pulled down, but you know, check this out.
You know, this revolution is filled.
And my thing, I don't really care for this guy's voice. That's the first thing I didn't care about, but
You know, this revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First you tell us that it is manly to keep your word. All right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all that the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well then, show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well then, stick to your word. And let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man. You're a worm. You're afraid of us. You're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground, that we will match you and we will override you. And if that's what you're afraid of us, then tell us that just what you're afraid of.
You see, all right, so first off, I mean, I gotta interrupt, all right, just for the legality, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, they pulled off my video last time, right? But he's like, look, if you're afraid, right? No, you're afraid that we're going to match you and surpass you, right? If you tell somebody, like I said, I have this white coworker, right? You know, occasionally I got like a white coworker, right? And this white coworker, she know I'm better than her. And she be trying to sabotage me all the time. But here's the thing. She don't even know I'm black. Okay? She just one of those people that just want to be the best in the room when she's not. That's fine. Right? Imagine how stupid I would be. See, the thing that you do not do is you do not tell somebody, hey, you know, I'm here to take your damn job. I'm here to get you fired. Because when you tell somebody, hey, I'm here to take your job, suddenly they start, especially white folk, they start maneuvering against you. See, because they have to look out for their own well-being too. So one thing you don't do is you just say, hey, look, you know, look, if you are smart, what you're going to do is say, hey, look, I'm just trying to work with you. I'm just trying to work with you. I'm just trying to be on your side. I'm on your side. You know, we're up against the Germans. You know what I'm saying? like some shit like that. You know? And actually, matter of fact, I remember this person called me and was like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hey, look, we're actually on the same team. You know, and you got to pop, you know, like I did that. You know? This dude, and look, the thing is this, you know he's talking to a white boy. By the way, I forgot to mention, I like the camera work here too. It's how it's all faded. It's pretty. I mean, not faded, how it's like, seems like delayed. It's pretty interesting.
But don't keep hiding it from us and holding this up to us, and every time we ask you for something, you give us a little bit of something, and it's all tokenism. We don't want tokenism. And there are most black men in this world that don't want charity. And yet still every time we ask you for something, you give us a little piece, a little piece. You're playing games with us. We're not children. We're big men. I've seen my father have to put up with...
Yeah, he's like, hey, look, we're big men. And it's like, we're not children.
All kinds of stuff. He was a big man. He raised a family. He went down south, and he had to go around to the back door with his wife. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for any favors. All we want is what's ours. Now, there are many black veterans who are coming back, and they're mad. They're angry. Do you think that they're going to sit down through this? Our fathers didn't have the knowledge that we have.
You see what I'm saying? Now, he's like, hey, look, we got veterans. Now, here's the thing you got to understand, right? And you know, shout out to D-Web. He'll probably tell you, right? But this white boy mistreats even white veterans. Okay? This white, and there's a reason. You know, a lot of us are like, how could you do that to the veterans? Blah, blah. This dude is spelling out. He's like, hey, look, you know, the veterans are a threat. You know, and see, the white boy knows his own history. You know, if you don't understand the American Revolution, a lot of the people who beat the British were veterans. George Washington was a general. I can't remember if he was under the British or not, but he was a general before he was a general for the Americans. He was a veteran. A lot of these white boys were veterans. And the thing about veterans, I want you to understand about veterans, is that most of them are just men who killed other men. And say, hey, you know what? Real talk, at the end of the day, only thing that you could do is another man. You could just kill another man and just go about your business. In the real world. In the real world, you could kill another man and go about your business. You could kill another man and go collect a check. That's the real world. That's the world of war. You understand what they're doing? In a world of war, one side of men, one group of men, is fighting another group of men, and then one group goes home, collects a check. That's all it is. And that kind of mentality, but now you come back to the South and they kicking your ass. You say to yourself, wait a second, hold on a second. You telling me that at one point in my life, I got paid to just kill other men. And now you, some motherfucker who got no gun on me, is kicking my ass? Oh, bullshit. So what this brother does now, that just means that you just keep it mum the word. You say, hey, look, like you gotta understand the art of deception. All warfare is based off of deception. This is Machiavelli. All warfare is based off of deception. And not Machiavelli like Tupac. Machiavelli like Niccolo. Or however you say it. I don't know how to speak Italian. Right?
They sat through it. But there are other black youth that are not going to sit through it. We know about Che. We know about Fanon. We've read the books of our revolution. We've listened to Mao and his quotations. We know where we stand. We're not going to sit for it. We're asking, and if we ask and we don't get, we're prepared to stand up and take it.
We know about Fanon. We know about Che. We know about Mao. Yeah, how many black Americans can say that today? Telling on your damn self. I'm telling you. Let's see. Let me go back to the comments though. So Lero, Lero is one of them. She's starving. Not starving. She's not starving, but she be fawning after dudes like all the time. So she would know who Chris Paul is. He's a handsome brother, I guess. So no homo, right? So she's like, oh, Chris Paul, he's a basketball player. Anyway, Tanzan, right? He sounds so. I don't like his voice. I don't know what happened, but I can't. I guess I can't really say much. Tanzan says, I don't know him either. Tanzan says, oh, okay. Tolero. Trigger Happy says, you must be talking about Jared Ball's live. That's the one I watched. True, man. The backlash that Awale Africa got in the comment section about his beliefs was rather interesting. I confirmed it was Jared. Tanzan says, damn, these open-mouthed squealers running to tell all the time. Afro-Jan says, Adam Clayton Powell was an off-white male. He was born to be a saboteur. That's the thing, though. Look, this dude is celebrated to this day by black Americans. He's celebrated to this day. And I mean that to say that when I was in the United African Movement, they were just fawning over the dude. They were like, yo, this is the best legislator. He was the ladies' man. Now, if you look at Adam Clayton Powell Jr., you're like, if you put, like, no homo, you put Chris Paul next to Adam Clayton Powell Jr., and understandably, you could see how Chris Paul is a heartthrob, right? Adam Clayton Powell Jr., on the other hand, right? This crooked nose and all that, like, no, but he was a ladies' man. Like, he had whole black congregations. He was like a pastor. He had whole black congregations fawning over him. Okay? He had whole black congregations fawning over him. So it's like yeah, it's weird, but we're in a different generation, I suppose, right? Lero says it's like you're yapping but not ready for the smoke. KW Don 7 says Jared Ball dismissed the link between pedophilia and homosexuality. Yo, when I was watching that interview, I tell you, man, I could never be on a show like that. Not to say I couldn't, but like I couldn't keep a straight face, cause like at some point, dude was like, I was gonna talk about this later, but soon dude was like, just get in where you fit in, and I was just like, that's the gayest shit I've ever. Like I my face contorted, and I was like, bumba clot. You know what I mean? Like it was y'all. I'm gonna advise y'all to go check that one out too. But anyway, Lero says, feed us, daddy, I guess. Laugh my ass off. Tenzin said he sounds so whiny, and then celebrated for what? What else did he do? No, he was a successful blackish or African American or whatever, but he was a successful representative. He was like probably the only black representative in the House, and I keep saying black, but you know how it is, right? He was the only representative of that non-white representative or non-completely white representative. It's mad hard, and it's in America. I will tell y'all about the double consciousness in a bit. But what happens is that he was also able to pass legislation for black people. So what happens is that usually there are black legislators, but not. No, so basically he was the lawmaker, right? So usually there's a difference between a legislator and a lawmaker. So a legislator sits in the seat, does his little vote. A white boy comes along and says, "Hey, vote on this," and they say, "Yeah, sure, I'll vote for you." Right? The lawmaker, however, writes a law and then gets other people to, gets the other legislators to actually pass the law. You get what I'm saying? Or like he would like play the game of politics so that essentially, even though like he was outnumbered like 1 to 430 or whatever, 30 to 34 or whatever, he was still able to pass laws for black people. So it was according to what I heard in regards to what Maddox and them would say, like he was very effective as opposed to the quote unquote legislators today who do not pass any laws. They just kind of like you don't see any laws that they write. So anyway, that's like the big thing there. So I'm not gonna knock him for that, but I mean he was not like a heartthrob. He was not a heartthrob, but he was like getting the ladies. Anyway, so but like that's just a weird thing. So like I said, this white man. So I said the way this white man knew everything. No, sorry, the way this man knew everything, but to not snitch on the movement is mind-boggling. That's my comment. It's like how in the world that if this white boy gives you quote unquote equality, that you will surpass him. Why would you tell him that? See, Dr. King didn't do that. Dr. King was like, hey, give us equality, but we're just gonna walk around and hold hands with you. You understand? Or some shit like that. That's what you're supposed to tell this white boy. Because see, the white boy is gonna be like, well, ain't nothing wrong with holding our hands. You know what I'm saying? If this dude is like, hey, we're gonna, we're reading these books to take over. We gonna kill you. There was a famous quote back during slavery days, right? Where it goes, give a N-word an inch and he'll take an L. Now, for those of you who don't know what an L is, like, join the club, right? But an L is like a large unit of measurement at the time. So I don't want to say it's like a foot. I don't want to say it's like a yard, but like maybe between a foot and a yard. Maybe like 2 and something feet, right? I don't know, right? ELL, not L like, taking a loss, but like taking an L, like a long distance, right? So it's give a black person an inch and they will take a longer distance. That's why you do not give them an inch. So when I heard that when I was a kid, I was like, oh, okay. So realistically speaking, the reason why they would keep people down, right? And this is the thing that I understand about white people. The reason why they would keep people down is because if you do not keep people down, then they will thrive. It's like the Congo situation. If you give Taraji P. Henson charge of the bauxite ore, she will always sell you bauxite. If you give Afro Jam charge of the bauxite ore, Afro Jam will sell you aluminum. You understand? So, do you, as a white person, want to buy bauxite, the ore that nobody's using, or do you want to buy aluminum, the processed ore? You understand? And so if basically if Afro Jam's on the queue for who's gonna be in charge, they don't say that. They don't say that. They just go, oh shit. If you want bauxite, that's fine. You understand? I'm telling you. It's you can't keep snitching on yourself, but it is what it is. Afro Jam says MLK said a lot more than that. Only according to stuff whites give him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like I said, like, that's the point. That's the point. You have to say the things, like, you have to talk a certain way to your enemy. You know, it's kind of like how this man in the 50s or 60s or whatever is like, y'all tell us that you're about equality and freedom. That's what the white boy is telling you. He's privately saying, no, we ain't about no damn equality and freedom, because that's stupid. But he's telling you, oh yeah, don't worry, we're gonna have a free society anytime soon. You understand? And that's really you know, why the MLK example was brought up. But anyway, let's keep going. So I said, look, and then now I said, you thought you were good at nationalism, right? So, and again, this was another one from Africa. In case y'all wondering, you know, every demographic is gonna get it, you know. So this is the interesting story. So it's like, look, this is somebody in Ghana, right? I came to Ghana in 2009, and we set up a business here to serve Africa from Ghana because it was easier to do so from here than in Nigeria. So I guess he left Nigeria, right? We hustled and struggled to do so, and were taxed in a manner I had never experienced. The tax man had my number. This is not a joke. They will call me to ask why we hadn't done X, Y, and Z yet. They had all our inflow information, and I could only think that they were in cahoots with the bank. The only other place I had seen with more aggressive taxation was South Africa. We also set up a subsidiary there as well. I asked friends who ran local companies in Ghana if they undergo the same scrutiny. They said no. They submitted returns to SNIT and other monthlies. Apparently they knew what to do, and I didn't. We decided to hire local finance people, and that was another disaster. It was pain. Hiring locally has been my biggest nightmare since we moved to Ghana. Honestly, I still don't know how most businesses manage to run here. Almost everyone working somewhere has another side gig, and they don't take both seriously. A friend said it was a socialist government after effect. Your finance person will want you to pay more taxes and not less, while also making sure that they get their salary while moonlighting elsewhere. It was not a viable solution, and we fired them, and then outsourced it. Outsourcing almost everything seemed to be the magic bullet, but it didn't really change the outcome much. We have a productivity crisis around Africa. In Tanzania, we hired someone who was sending us reports that were all lies while he was working elsewhere in Kenya. He later abandoned the job without notice of resignation. He just left. The craziest thing I noticed in Ghana was that the family-owned businesses thrive more than they did in Nigeria. I guess because they don't have the male-dominated... Now, this is the guy, no less. This is weird, right? But anyway, I guess they don't have the male-dominated inheritance pressures we have. It is largely a matrilineal society, and the women ran some of the most successful ventures. My wife's aunt is probably the largest commodity trader in Ghana, and all her kids work with her even after getting Ivy League degrees abroad. They run a very successful business venture. This was what blew my mind the most. In Nigeria, they would have remained abroad or got jobs. It wasn't just our family members. I have seen many others do the same. The kids go abroad and then always come back to help run the business properly. I noticed it in Kenya to some extent as well. There were massive family-owned agricultural ventures that still thrive. I keep wondering if that is the default mode of African business and trade. Even cooperatives are first started within families and ethnic groups. The whole Igbo, Imu, Ahia thing is also based on family first before outsiders. I don't know if anyone has explored this in depth. I did a 14-year unpaid internship with my uncle. I helped him set up many things, even while I was still in a struggling entrepreneur. In return, he gave me a base to start from and even helped with starting capital, which I repaid. My mother funded our payroll whenever we needed cash. There's a whole lot more loyalty between members of family in Africa, in African business than outsiders. There are few very bad stories as usual, but most of the experiences have been largely positive, but we don't talk about them. We sort of see family-run businesses now inferior. I still have a CV of young man in my inbox. He was running his family transportation business before he sadly died. He desperately wanted to get a job outside. He didn't feel he was learning enough. His father felt a degree was enough learning and left the business for him. Thank you, Dan Juma and his family, K's in NSEED. And the school organized a special course on how to run a family business for them. My wife met them while they asked for her. I don't know of any African business schools running courses for family-owned businesses, and they should, right? So anyway, so this seems to be a guy, calls himself a retired investor according to the United States Embassy. last person leaving Nigeria, kindly switching off the generator. He's in Ghana and so on and so forth. Here's the thing. Oh, a blue check, obviously. Here's the thing. So, what am I going to say? What am I saying about this? So, one of the most important things about the nation, right, is taxation. Okay? One of the most important things about the nation is taxation. And this is the reason why we do not really succeed in the West, or why we don't really succeed on the continent, right? And actually, for those of you who don't know, Nigeria has remarkably low taxes, like I think it's like 1% or something like that. So basically, they really don't like they really most of the profit, like most of the businesses, like most of the government is financed by like maybe oil or something. You know what I mean? Like it really legit does not tax its people. Like so the people are just kind of like, ugh, whatever, who cares? But anyway, but like he said, he's in Ghana. He's in a more modern nation, and so he's faced up with taxes. The thing about like I said about the accounting, the incentive in the West, for instance, right, is you get lower taxes. You get lower taxes the more you do, the more you invest in the economy, right? The more you invest in the economy, like America is going to collect its taxes, sure, but it still incentivizes you with lower taxes when, like just normally. So you have kids, like I said, invest in the economy like you have children, right? In America, living in America, you get a tax break. Okay, you donate to a charity that America recognizes, you get a tax break. Okay, you let's say you're trading, you're investing in any sort of stock, even crypto, whatever. You invest in any kind of stock and you do it long term. That means longer than a year. So you buy something and you leave it there for longer than a year, then you will be taxed less than if you were to do a short term trade, right? You get these sort of benefits, and there's a reason for this, Now on the other hand, you're talking about in Africa, like I said, in Africa, like the concept is not there, right? The concept is not there. You understand taxation is important. That's true. But taxation is like, hey, look, this is how we're going to get money. We're going to get direct. We're going to get short-term money. See, when you say, hey, look, you make a long-term investment in building a family, tax break. Because you understand there's a long-term benefit for having more Americans, right? You're in a marriage, in a stable relationship, tax break, right? You're investing in the economy, leaving your money active instead of shifting it constantly, tax break, right? But like I said, the idea of taxation is an important one. You do want to tax people, but you have to understand why you're taxing them and also incentivize them with lower taxes when they're doing things that you believe is a good thing. Okay? And so this is another issue that we have to wrestle with when it comes to nationalism, because like one of the things that you pick up from this article is that a lot of people are going to betray you. A lot of people are going to throw you aside. A lot of people are going to do things untowards towards you, right? And you have to process why. You understand? Like the economy, when we talk about fixing the nation, we talk about nation building. When we talk about fixing the nation and we talk about fixing the economy, we also have to understand this taxation conversation. Okay? We have to understand this taxation conversation and what sort of tax breaks we would give to our people if they are producing children. You understand? If they're producing beautiful black citizens for our nation. We're just going to leave it at that, though. We don't have to keep going on to that. But yeah, like I said, you thought you were good at nationalism? Come on. I think it was an interesting passage. So now we're going to go to ABAs. So what was ABA? Oh, this shit right here. Okay. So, but you don't cover African, your media. Now, this is the thing about us we're going to talk about these ABAs, right? So these ABAs, look at the title, they're Moors, Amerindians, they're even sometimes slaves, but they're anything but Africans. That's what they are. They're anything but Africans. We're going to go into it. Let's hit it up. Let's see what this one is. And so we're at 4, which is good. Not too many this week. Although I'll tell you that you know, y'all know how the story going to go. So this is some lady. She's Lauren Johnson of a Columbia College alumni, right? Reporter for KCC. She says, "Look, I'm still in shock of what I experienced covering the uncanny school board meeting tonight. At first, I was told that I wasn't allowed in the meeting, even though I had contacted their communications team that I would be attending. After that, I was told that meeting was at 1. Right? Anyway. And I don't want to keep doing that. It's kind of long. And I would have to wait to get in. The school district's attorney then came out to speak to me, where she told me I was being loud, and if I wanted to see the meeting, I would need to watch the live stream. 2, not only am I disgusted at the lack of professionalism I saw today, but I am extremely disappointed in how other journalists like myself are faced with instances like these. I do my best to hold my tongue, but tonight I will not. Shame on Kenny for trying to keep a black reporter out of the room during a meeting that was literally about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I hope no reporter ever feels the hurt and embarrassment I felt tonight. Journalists of color should never have to feel like they don't belong in a space while trying to do their job. All communities need journalism, period. I should have put this in BAN, shouldn't I? Anyway, look. So I know y'all say to yourself, "Oh, she's right. She's a journalist. She deserves to be in any type of space. She's a journalist. She's a journalist. You know, she's not. You know, she's not bad looking. Okay, she's not bad looking, right? But check this out. Matter of fact, some people say she's good looking, but check this out. This is the motherfucking school board. This is a school district. You have any idea why they wouldn't include this lady? Like, you ever gotta look. you ever gotta look at this chick, man. Like, of course we gotta get in the celebratory Sweet Carolina. This is the, like, what the fuck? Like, I would never, like, if somebody said you better stay out of this room, and this was the room, I would say, oh, my fault. You know what I'm saying? like I didn't even know. I ain't never seen anything this pale before. I'll tell y'all the truth. So yeah. I mean, like, happy St. Patrick's Day. Don't celebrate too hard. We still have more work day in the week. I mean, come on, gal. You know, and like I said, she a good looking woman. I mean, I put her to pass me. I mean, she a good looking sister, but I put her to pass me. I put her to pass me just for that. Like, she is, like I said, her media in pub. Oh yeah, I said, look at her media in the pubs, right? But then look at this. I want y'all to understand. So this woman is fighting to be in a room with these white folk that ain't got nothing to do with her. She's like, this is a discussion about equity and inclusion, and you're not including me. And it's like, these white boys are like, yeah, I mean, we talk about inclusion and equity among ourselves. Can we have a space without you? And then they're like, how could you call me loud? And it's like, well, first off, if you in this room, I'll be honest with y'all. See, at first I was going to tell y'all, you know, one of the things I like about, you know, like, you know, one thing I like about black Americans in particular is that we are loud. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like being loud. You know, y'all hear me right now. I'm kind of loud. But anyway, the thing is this. I'll tell y'all the truth. If there's a room, like if there's a raisin, I'll tell y'all this, just visually. If there's a raisin in your sugar, it's loud. Why the fuck is there a raisin in your sugar? You know, some of y'all like, wait, brown, I only use brown sugar. Well, that's good for you. I'm talking about this white sugar. That's good for you. But I'm talking about this white sugar. If you got a raisin in your white sugar, it is loud. I don't give a fuck. It don't make no noise. It don't have to make no noise. Why the fuck is there a raisin in my, now if there's a raisin in my raisins, okay, that's what it's supposed to be. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear me. Anyway, but let me see this right here. Oh yeah, so this was I was gonna show y'all.
Tonight on Dispatches.
Yo, by the way, these kids, this is a workout. You see, one of these kids got like an arm on them. But anyway, it says illegal child labor is being used to supply cocoa beans to Cadbury, Britain's favorite chocolate brand. Dispatches have been undercover in Ghana, where children as young as 10 have been working grueling hours to supply cocoa beans to Cadbury. Now, why do I bring this up? Obviously, I can't play this video.
Reveal how illegal child labor is being used to supply
Look at this kid.
cocoa beans to
See that muscle?
Cadbury.
Anyway, but here's the thing I want y'all to understand about this video, though, right? You know, you go watch it. It's on the Who Are the Enemies Within page, right? But it's white reportage. You understand? So this woman's like, hey, every community needs a journalism, and she's hanging out with all these white folk, and she's probably gonna marry white, and it's gonna be a lucky ass white boy. Well, I mean, not really lucky, because like I said, she kind of a pass me, just on her white obsession, right? But she cute. You understand? So the white boy is gonna be lucky in the aesthetic apartment, right? Why I say that is because that's the thing that's the thing that's getting to us. We so much like this is every community's journalism, and then these kids have been working, not them personally, but there are maybe 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 23-year-olds. Some people, if they survive the situation, they are. They have a story to tell about the child labor, if you will, if you believe in that, right? They have a story to tell about the child labor. But she's not going there. She's trying to be in the room with these white folk. But anyway, let me see what the comments is going. Jacadi 1, piece says, have to build a business with every role being homegrown, mafia type biz model, you know? Then he says, being was the correction. I just read it that way. E. Wright says, greetings to the pro-black perspective. So greetings. Afro Jam says, greetings, brother. Lero says, laugh my ass off, and Harsh Reality Podcast is laughing. Says, raisin in my sugar. So shout out to Harsh Reality Podcast, you know? Harsh Reality Podcast is here. Make sure y'all check him out. Yeah. So that's what it is. I mean, she don't cover African news. She don't cover her media, but she's like, hey, look, I got to be in the room. But we're going to leave that over here. Now, here's my thing. We talk about ABAs. And so my thing is this. Look, y'all thought they were only Americans, didn't y'all? When I talk about anything but Africans, y'all thought they were only African Americans. But look. Okay, fam? Look. So this dude now he got a Thomas Sowell. See, that's what I'm saying. Like I tell you, man, even when I'm trying not to get into, even when I'm trying to be like, yo, let me leave these African Americans alone. This Thomas Sowell. All right, but anyway, look, all South Africans must carry their IDs in case they are stopped and asked for documentation. It's a small price to pay in helping the country rid itself of this illegal immigration crisis. SAPS must establish a nationwide document check program for a full year. This is in South Africa. Now this woman comes up. She says, look, I'll carry my ID, passport, and driver's license every time I have to walk outside my yard any day with no qualms. I missed out on the Donbass days anyways. Now hear this. I missed out. Like that gave me chills just now. She's talking about apartheid. She said she missed out on apartheid. Who the fuck says that? But anyway, like what? All right, hold up. Like what? You know, it's on Jamaica, they say Toronto, I think, right? Toronto or something. Like, bumper clap. What the fuck is, like, I missed out on the Donbass days era. Like, shit, boy, that's shit. All right, so maybe this is my Donbass era. Who knows? My folks did it for apartheid. If you didn't process it after I said it, she tells you, my folks did it for apartheid. They survived. Like, what the fuck are you talking? I tell you, man. Like, look, fam, I'm telling you. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right. You know, I ain't gonna like if I heard that in real life, I'm telling you, sure. Yeah, I got discipline. I got discipline, but if I heard that in real life, you understand? Anyway, this too shall pass. But like, shit, boy, if I heard that in real life, I'll tell y'all. Like, what the fuck? Like, are you kidding me? Like, nah. But anyway. So like I said, y'all thought ABAs were only Americans, right? No. There's a lot of people, like, these are people telling you we're anything but, like, these are motherfuckers, their name is South Africans. Like, there's no way that nobody don't know they Africans. Their name is South Africans. They call themselves South Africans. Why in the world would they be discriminated against other African people? That's why I said we got to shout out to Molefi, because Molefi lets you know. He says, look, man, it's just Africa. It's just one continent. We're just the southern tip. We're just the southern tip of one continent, one people. Should be one nation. But anyway. And when I say one nation, I know some of y'all are like, hey, wait a second, you mean one tax code across that? No, I don't mean that. I mean, it might be that, but I mean, look, I'm an African nationalist. I'm about building a nation. I understand that. But what I'm telling you is, I'm just telling you what Molefi, like, I'm telling you what Molefi and what I believe is that we are just one people. You know, some of us were taken from the continent. Some of us were not. Some of us were on the western coast. Some of us were on the eastern coast. Some of us in the center. Some of us on the south. We just one people, though. You know? But we do have a Scotty among us. We have people who feel like they missed out on apartheid. People who look at apartheid and say, well, they survived. You know? And if y'all know about apartheid, there was a children's protest during apartheid, where these white boys came through and gunned down the children. School protest. Now, I don't know if y'all understand what I just said. I mean, I feel like some of you do. I feel like most of you do. But I want to like reiterate this point. You ever heard of, first off, you know, kids protesting, right? That's just, you know, like, it's not too, I don't think it's too common, but, you know, it happens, okay? And of course it happens in that situation because it was a serious situation, right? Kids are protesting. And then the response by the government was to go in there with machine guns. Again, kids protesting, not adults, not angry factory workers, not veterans, nothing. Children were protesting. The response by the government for children protesting. And I'm talking about, and I feel like it might have been like, I don't remember the grade level, but I think it might have been like junior high or even elementary school. I really don't know. You know, maybe that's an important detail. I'm not going to hold y'all. But when I say children, I don't mean like college students. I don't think they were high school students either. I think they were kids protesting. And then they were gunned down by their government on camera. And this woman is sitting here like, oh, I missed out on them days. Like, what the fuck? I'm sorry. Like, the weird thing is that, like, I saw a response. Like, I saw the quote tweet to this. You know, I think it was Brother Greathouse. Oh, look, Alan Bookman's here. She's vomiting. Brother Greathouse, like, you missed out on apartheid. So that's all I saw. Real talk, right? Like now that I read it, I'm just like, the fuck, you know, like, you know. So yeah, I mean, this person, they made a joke. I thought it was like, oh, why do you leave out birth certificate? And I think she does actually answer. But you know what? F this. This is a disgusting individual. I should just block them right now. Yeah, fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Y'all get it? Because I'm live? No? Okay. All right. Anyway, that was disturbing. All right. So anyway, so that's ABA for the week. Let's see. There was no Manginas this week, which is nice. You know, shout out. Matter of fact, there wasn't Manginas for a good amount of time. So shout out to y'all. Now we got Pass Me's. So this is actually one of the questions on the advert, which is, now actually let me see the comments. Let me see how the comments go. Afrojam says a lot of these mentalities are not only African Americans, it's a Western ideology. Yeah, true that. Trigger Happy says, I don't want to make the case that one is more compromised than the other, but who can answer why there are strong anti-immigration online movements among black people in white countries, right? Or white settler colonial countries, to be more accurate, right? Lero says, Molefi really checked them, but I cringed when he got to reminding them that includes white. He said that? Lero, you can't be, shit. All right. What? Nah. All right. Nah. gonna push past that one. Bobby Wright says the colonizers knew what they were doing when they drew those borders. They knew it, yeah. They wanted colonies. Afro Jam, South Africa's name maintained for the European population. It messes up geographical term South Africa. Malema plays both sides of the fence. He promotes LGBT stuff too. Rainbow Nation. Shit. You know, it's weird, the LGBT stuff. It's weird. I mean, like, you know, we're in this space and time. It's just really weird. There can be male pass-me's. So like I said, there can be male pass-me's. And y'all saw this tweet already. But there can be male pass-me's. I want y'all to understand that when I tell y'all, because sometimes you might be like, hey, Ona, you talking about pass-me's, it sounds kind of like low-key misogynist, right? At least a pick-me is trying. These women hard pass, right? Low-key misogynist. It's like, I just put down women anytime. This is one of those motherfuckers. It's not even a woman, but it's like, just walk away. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia because I could listen to the conversations of some plants and understand what is they're communicating. Just walk away. You hear anybody say that they can talk to plants if they're not named George Washington Carver, okay? They're not named George Washington Carver, and I mean, I'm not saying that talk to plants is not a metaphor. Like, you could use that as a metaphor. Say, hey, how did I hear about this? Oh, I heard the plants tell me, you know? Or it jumped out at me, something like that. But you got to understand this. You're not conversing with plants. Because I realize this. Look, I'll tell y'all this. See, when y'all hear me because sound wave comes out of my mouth. Okay? A sound wave, the vibrations of the air comes out of my mouth, hits this microphone. This microphone then converts it into an electric signal that goes into your audio speaker, right? Goes to your speaker and ejects the same kind of frequency and amplitude of that sound wave that I put into this microphone. Okay? So you are hearing your speakers. You're not hearing me. You're hearing your speakers simulate, right, my audio. When you say that you're communicating to somebody, you are listening to the sound waves, the vibrations of the air. The reality is this, that if plants could talk, you could pick up. If you could hear plants with your eardrums, listen to me, scientifically, I'm telling you. If you could hear plants with your eardrums, that means that your eardrums will have to vibrate, okay, at a frequency that the plants are letting out. Therefore, if your eardrums can pick it up as a measurement, so could it be measured independently. And your belief that the plants are going to be communicating with you, right? Audibly, no less. Communicating with you in sound waves that happen to be English or whatever language you're speaking, but it's most likely English. If these plants are able to speak English, then you're a fucking moron. No disrespect. You were not just diagnosed with schizophrenia, you were diagnosed with idiocy. You're a pass me. You hear somebody tell you that. I'm not telling you, look, George Washington Carver said the same, like he said something similar, I think, I don't remember. But it's like, you know, like kind of like, you know, more like he's like a scientist in the sense of something along the lines of, you know, oh, well, I talk to the plants or something, you know, some nonsense, you know. But like it's like it was a metaphor. It was like, hey, you know, realistically speaking, I have this knowledge of plants that's above and beyond that I just don't want to communicate right now. You know, and there are quote unquote, you know, quote unquote African, you know, spiritualists who, you know, on the continent in the real bush tradition in a sense, right? They had learned about these plants. You know, a thing that a lot of people don't remember is that if you really go and read the literature that comes out of ancient Egypt, you'll find that there is a papyrus, a medical papyrus, right? That tells you what these different plants do for what body part and why. And this is ancient knowledge passed down from older generations of Africans. And these are the ancestors of the ancestors of the ancestors. Okay? So they'll pass down this knowledge, and then if you come along and you say, well, how do you know this shit? Or how do you know this? Right? And they say, well, look, man, I learned this shit. You understand? I learned it. You're like, well, where'd you learn it? You don't got no school? Well, I learned from the plants then. Shut the fuck up, man. Go away, man. I studied this shit. I told you this. Like, you think we just sit around not studying? Now, what happens is this. You got these fools who don't understand that when African people were telling, these white people, shut the fuck up. I studied this shit. Like everybody studies. So you're not the only people that study. When they didn't understand that and they just heard these white folk tell them, with a sarcastic, I talk to the plants, man, right? We now come along and imitate the joke. We imitate the joke. Say, oh yeah, well I talk to the plants too. My ancestors talk to the plants. Yeah, nobody could talk to plants. That don't make no sense. This is a pass me, and I tell you, like, if a woman says the same thing, it's a pass me. If a man says it, it's a pass me. Do not engage. Shut down your communications. Like shut down. If you were like formerly smiling and communicative and giving passive language, they say, yeah, sometimes occasionally I talk to plants. Just shut down. Just put on your serious face, walk away. Say, hey, where you going? You're like, nah, man, nah. You know what I'm saying? just no. I'm telling you, this is it. I'm telling you. So, so of course, to the question, are there male pass-me's? You understand? See what the comments are like. I swear he said it. Go peep after this, LOL. Bobby E. Wright says, they knew that those colonial borders would cause these types of problems like xenophobia to prevent a unified Africa. South African mentality is on the... Oh, Afrojam says, South African mentality is on the same level as America, maybe worse because they outnumber others but still do this stuff. Lero says, people get court-ordered hospitalizations for this stuff all the time. So why are they surprised? Some self-reflection is needed. I don't know if she's telling me I should self-reflect and talk to plants, but... This is one of the sisters I follow. She says, very interesting. I once read a book by an anthropologist who wrote about a tribe in the Amazon and their way of life, particularly how they know which plants to use as medicine for what. Simple answer he got was the plants speak. They get in trance via Anushka and the plants speak, right? But again, like I said, plants can't really speak. That's just not a thing. It's just not a thing. Anyway, so let's keep going. Oh yeah, so this one's just kind of a sad story, I really thought I shouldn't even include it, but it tells you an example of a pass me. It was actually I didn't really pay attention to the story. I just kind of saw it later where the guy was thanking people for bringing attention to it. But basically, it's just some brother, handsome dude, right? Pretty kid, and he's like, "This is my new profile pic," right? And you think, okay, cool. Like usually, I would just scroll past this. I don't really give a fuck, right? In fact, most people just scroll past it. Look at that, like 138, whatever, right? Some woman writes to him, he looks like a child molester. Protect our girls. Now, again, this is the same person. He put up this picture and it was like, nobody really cared. Oh, I guess it was last year. And then she writes this, and then it's like 100,000 people see it, right? It's sad. Now, I'm not going to say that, situations don't happen between parents and kids. In fact, like I said, there was a movie list recently, and people were like, "Hey, you gotta watch these movies from the '90s." And one of the movies is I only saw 3 of them. One of them was what was the name of that freaking movie? East Bayou. And if y'all watch East Bayou, it's really like it's not a good film. I wouldn't recommend it because it really does touch on not just the topic of that pseudo spiritualism, but it really does touch on fathers and kids. It's weird like that. Like it's weird. Like why would I want to watch that in a movie? Either way, it's a real issue. It's a real issue. The dude's not doing anything like that. He's just posing with his kid. Right? Yeah. And then like this is the pass me right here. It's like it's already tough enough to share your kid's image. It's already tough enough to take pictures, right? It's already tough enough to raise a daughter. But to have this sort of hostility against black men to the degree that you will attack somebody with no evidence. He looks like, and the thing, he even looked like a child molester. I mean, I guess you could say he's not smiling, right? But that's just a black guy. Like you know, back in the 90s, that's all we used to talk about, how black men do not smile. You know, we would purposely take pictures and not smile. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck am I smiling for? But anyway, yeah, that's like I said, that's just a sad story. It ain't even it's not really worth going into too much. We're gonna jump to the comrade. So it's like this. It could be fake marketing, but this is free marketing. I want to give y'all a little bit of context, okay? So free market in a nutshell. I want y'all to understand the free market in a nutshell. And that is sell something people will buy at a profit. That's it. This is what you have to understand about human society, right? Or this is what you understand about the quote-unquote free market that a lot of us are taught to dislike. And that is that realistically at its basis, you would want to sell something that people will buy at a profit. You can't do this in every economy, right? And so I'm going to show you an example of this sister. And the reason why I put this in the comrades is because she's allegedly complaining about some people. It might be fake, but she goes, a few people just told me my glasses are too expensive. They're on sale for $10 though. I'm not sure how much cheaper y'all expect me to sell premium wine glasses for. Now I'm questioning myself, is $10 too much? And so she sells this thing. Now, this could just be marketing. Okay? This could just be marketing, right? But I mean, yeah. Like she's selling, but what happens is that a lot of people say, they look at this and they say, I'm on the website and I'm buying it. And this is something that free market does for you, right? A lot of people will also say this dumb shit where it's like, you should raise the price, you know? And that's another thing that we have to understand about, you know, the quote unquote free market. Free market as well says that, you know, the customers control the price, you know, supply and demand. If they feel like it's too expensive, then it's too expensive, period. Now, I don't know if people really told her that it was too expensive, but if they feel like it's the right price, and then they're going to buy at the right price, then that's the price you set it for, you know? Now, you might be like, well, Oni, don't you sell a $50 book, you know? Yeah, it's $50 because it's freaking worth it. But anyway, you know, that's the thing, though. It's like realistically speaking, you know, people have, let's say, book budgets. People have wine glass budgets. People have premium drinking glass budgets, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really matter. What I'm saying about the free market is this, that you have to sell things and it has to be at a price too, but you have to sell things that people will that will bring you profit, and that's something that comrades don't understand. So here's a second picture of her, and like I said, she's also like these pictures. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess she's a good looking sister, but like here's another picture of her and her progress. She says last year's progress. Right? So she kind of looks different in this picture, don't it? But anyway, she's like last year's progress. And you see boxes of glass, boxes, delivery, boxes, right? So, like I said, you know, a good looking sister, right? But what I'm pointing out to you is that she's putting in this work for herself. And later on, she says, she met her goal if she sells 6 more glasses, right? But she's putting in the work that a lot of us don't do when we're trying to pursue our monetary or financial goals. Like a lot of us, when we want to get our monetary and financial goals, what we do is we go to this white boy and say, how much you gonna pay me? And the white boy says, well, I'll pay you this much. And then we say, shit, okay, sure, I'll do it. You know? But this free market, this idea of, hey, look, I'm going to give something. I'm going to sell something that people will buy. Okay? This is the kind of mentality that we actually have to take to Africa. You understand? This sort of work ethic where we say, hey, look, I'm going to utilize the infrastructure in place. See this postal service is the infrastructure in place, right? She probably has equipment to make the glass. Okay? She has the equipment to make the glass, and what she's going to do is she's going to make this glass. and then put it in these boxes. And then the post office is going to ship it over to other parts of the country, and she's going to get the profit. Okay? That's the world that we're in. You understand? That's what we have to understand, is the infrastructure development as well as the entrepreneurial spirit. And here's the thing, here's the issue. So eventually, let's say if her business really takes off, right? She might hire somebody else to make the glass. Or she might hire somebody else to deliver this big ass cart of thing to the mail, to the post office, right? She might hire somebody else to stand in line and do all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to turn around and be like, well, you got to pay them as much as you get. Not realizing how much she's done to get where she's at. How much she sacrifices. See, because this is her after work. See, when you're after work, you sit down, you put on your little, whatever, right? Kick your feet up on the couch, probably turn on your PC, do what you got to do on your PC, right? And she's sitting up doing this. And this is the thing that I want you to understand about humans in general. There are going to be humans who want better for themselves, and by wanting better for themselves, they're going to go about it in a very independent or a way that produces goods that they can sell for profit. And this is something that, like I said, if you go down to Africa and you do something like this, now granted, you might not have the U.S. Postal Service in Africa. You know what I'm saying? And by not having the U.S. Postal Service, I mean you might not have reliable mailing. You might not have the infrastructure on the internet for people to order. You might not have people who have access to credit cards like they do in America. There's a lot that's going on in America behind the scenes that makes it an infrastructure for making these sort of sales. Whereas in Africa, you might not have all of these advantages. You might not have access to the glass like you do when you're on the continent. See, because somebody has to deliver the glass to her. There's a lot going on here. But you have to, what you want to do, and this is why I tell people, like, I don't make big plans. What I do is I scout. I go down to Africa and I look and see what I could do. Okay? Or that's what I advise people to do. I say, go down to Africa and look what you don't just start thinking of what you could do while you're in America. That don't make no damn sense. Because there's a lot of things you could do. Because if you have the infrastructure in America, you could do quite a bit. If everybody got a credit card, if everybody's online all the damn time, if everybody has a mailing address, right? I'll tell y'all I go to Jamaica, and my grandmother, when she was living, she'd been living at this house for I don't know how many years, maybe 50 years. I asked her, what's the address? She said she don't know. I mean, like, she don't know. I'm like, I didn't curse at my grandmother, no. But I was like, how am I gonna go see you? She's like, well, she decided to call her daughter to ask her, well, what's the address, right? So her daughter tells me, oh, well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna tell them this thing. And I said, what's the house number? She said, well, there's no house number. And I don't know how they got mail, but it was just like one of those areas where, I mean, I don't even know if she did get mail, honestly. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, the infrastructure is just not there. In a lot of places, it's just not there. And you got to go down there to see what it is that you need and what it is that you can do and how it is that you could make a profit. I would tell y'all, like, first thing I did when I went to Africa was get lost. No, actually, the second thing I did. First thing I did was get, not robbed per se, but I got, swindled. Some dude told me, well, this taxi ride is going to cost you $50. And I was like, $50, that's cheap, right? Because, my taxi ride to the airport was $50 in New York, right? Come to find out, in Africa, that ride was $20 or $10. You know what I mean? But, I just got swindled. But it was like, whatever, I don't give a shit. $50 is nothing, right? But anyway, at the time I thought $50 is nothing. Right now when I say it, I'm just like, what the fuck? $50? Anyway, But like again, he was happy just to be in Africa. You know what I mean? Like you ain't think about no $50 when you in Africa, like, cause you traveling with money. You know what I mean? Anyway, but I go forward. I go forward to what was I thinking about? Second thing I did was I got lost. I'm looking at, they're like, hey, here's a home address you got to go for. And of course, there was like a whole housing compound. But the addresses, the numbers of the houses were not even sequential. So in New York, you can't get lost. It's just 34th Street, 37, whatever, right? In New York, you can't get lost, especially not in the city, right? You go from 1483 to 1485 right next to it. Right, all the odd numbers on one side, all the even numbers on the other side, right? And then all the street numbers, you go from Avenue C to Avenue D to Avenue E. Sometimes, occasionally, you guys see a name or a word, but then it comes back to some alphabetical order at some point, right? In Africa, it didn't even make no sense. You could be on the same street and then it becomes a Akamfo, at some point it's going from a Akamfo that it's like, oh, Du Bois Terrace. You're like, okay, Du Bois Terrace, and then it's Mission Street. It's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot that needs to be developed, and you're going to see that when you go, but you're not going to know that until you know. All right, until you know. Let me look at these comments because I did just go on and on for a sick minute. Mr. Untouchable asks, only already aired out Dr. Molefi aside there yet? Nah, not just yet. This brother, man. Y'all, that's what y'all looking for? Y'all got to learn about capitalism first. All right. All right. They know. Let's see the comments. People get court-ordered hospitalizations for this stuff all the time. So why are they? Oh, yeah. So Afrojam says, sick keyboard warrior. Lero says, nah, he ain't touched Molefi yet. Afrojam says, a lot of other people didn't want the infrastructure in these places. A lot of old people didn't want the infrastructure in these places. Tanzan says the Boda delivery system is actually quite fast and efficient. They deliver packages and food, and they cut through traffic. Oh, okay, I see you. Untouchable says, Tanzan, did you receive my email? And Althazor is here. So Althazor, peace, family. How you doing? But yeah. So, I mean, look, so like I said, like if you're, so I think a lot of East African countries have this Boda delivery system. A lot of East African countries have that. So that's something that you got to know. You got to know that you can engage in these delivery businesses while you're in East Africa. But you might not have the same, and it depends on like where you are. Like I said, in Jamaica, if you go to Kingston, you're going to have a different position, a different opportunity in Kingston than you will in Maypen. Okay? You're just going to have a different opportunity. African says that's necessarily an African thing. The street names changing randomly exist in Britain. I think they copying them. Yeah, possibly. Emmanuel Briggs says, hello, morning, everyone. Well, it's good afternoon here, but, good afternoon, fam. Let's keep going. Let's see. Let me go to the next section. Let's see if we can do this. So we almost finishing. Let's see what the Nevolutionaries are doing this week. Oh, yeah, good thing Arthur's here. We're going to talk about something the authors would say. It's unite under religion, they say, right? So I says, leave religion at home, but the nation is the home. I want y'all to understand this is a story coming out of Africa right now. I said the enemies within. And it's like, you cannot, you say you want to ignore religion. This is a Nigeria atheist. Now, I'm not going to say I would do something like what he did, which is go online. Actually, I guess I do. But anyway, this is Abuja. This is Nigeria. Nigerian atheist Mubarak Bala jailed for blaspheming Islam. Okay, so look, Nigerian atheist has been sentenced to 24 years in prison. Now, I don't know if y'all know how long 24 years in prison is. That's a long ass time. Okay, I know people who've been in prison for 3 years and they thought that was too much for doing, and this is like for doing like real crimes. Okay, for doing real crimes. You in prison for 3 years, you in prison for 5 years, you in prison for 7 years. You think, damn, this is some sort of torture. This dude is in prison for 24 years by the High Court in the northern state of Kano after being convicted of blaspheming Islam. Y'all don't even know how long 24 years is, because I think we're just going by that. We just saying who gives a shit, right? Anyway, Mubarak Bala, the 37-year-old president of the Humanist Association of Nigeria, pleaded guilty to all 18 charges and asked for leniency. He's been in detention since 2020. All right. A group of Muslims has filed a petition to the authorities accusing Bala of posting uncomplimentary messages about Islam on social media. Now, see, I'm telling y'all need to investigate the countries that you're traveling to. And you have to investigate what it is you're going to be doing. You go to the wrong country, say the wrong thing, you can end up in prison for 24 years. Like, freedom of speech is something that you know, America spoiled you with, you know? If I go online and I say, hey, man, fuck Biden, right? It's like, okay, cool. I go online and say, fuck Trump. They're like, yes, right? If you're in the wrong country and you say, fuck whoever it is in charge, you're 24. You'd be lucky with 24 years. Ghana has a majority Muslim population. It is one of around a dozen states in northern Nigeria where Islamic law is practiced alongside secular laws. Bala could have faced a death penalty if he was tried at an Islamic court. He could have faced the death penalty. UN human rights experts and international rights groups have condemned this detention and called for his release. Bala renounced his Islamic faith in 2014. He then reportedly taken to the psychiatric hospital after being discharged. He was arrested in 2020 in neighboring Kaduna state and transferred to Kano, his home state. So he was in another state right next. Now, why would you be in the next state over? But he was in the next state over. You know, man, shit, I don't believe in this Islam shit. That's some Arab bullshit. Whatever. I don't know what he was saying, right? But he's in the next state and they said, okay, hold on a second. Bring his motherfucker in. They don't give a fuck if you're in the next states. You know what I'm saying? You better be on this motherfucker. You better, shit. Nigeria is Africa's most populous country, and most people in it is mainly Muslim North and a largely Christian South are deeply religious. Yeah, I mean, like, come on, man. Dude wasn't even in the same state. They took his ass out. Come on, man. But this is why I tell you, like I said, Arthur George here, so, you know, shout out to Arthur George. But Arthur George will tell you, man, stop talking about religion. Religion's not important. You know, religion's not an issue, right? And I shouldn't make that voice for Arthur George. He's my brother from another mother. But still, what I'm saying is this. You there, I don't care about religion. You know, religion's not that important. Religion's not that big a factor. Religion's not so on and so forth. And then you there chilling, minding your business. You like, yeah, but you know, I don't really go around with this Islam shit, though. Then you got 24 years. As they say, bomba clot. You understand? Afrojam says, America was centrally planned for a large part. Yeah, exactly. Like America, I think America designed one of the earlier, better postal services. Like the U.S. Postal Service is designed, I was like Pony Express, some stupid like that. But they have a good postal service. You really do want to city plan and plan a city around delivery to the people. But again, you know, you got to realize that for the colonies that Africa comes out of, that there wasn't going to be any deliveries to the fucking people. You know, like you were there for labor or something. You know, they weren't designing cities for your benefit. They were designing cities for their benefit, the colonizers. So they're not going to create a whole system around that, right? Anyway, let's keep going. So Tanzan says, I will check and respond. Check and respond about the email. Winston Tuttle says, wow, I didn't know Nigeria was a theocracy. Afrojan says, Negroes love that Abrahamic stuff. Too bad they aren't like that about our original cultures. Yep. Lero says, yeah, we never going to be honest in regards to religious conversation. Ain't no way we brushing past this kind of man. I mean, look, man, if you do not check the people, like, again, if you set up a nation and you don't know what's going, like I said, if you set up a nation, you do not know where the mentality of your people are, right? What's going to happen is that you're going to get fucked. Because they're like, you're asking for a conflict. You know, I realize this, you know, moving forward. I realize that one of the things that's really important, we're going to see this, because like when we go over this Molefi Asante thing, we're going to realize that a person's worldview or a person's spiritual views or a person's belief system, fundamental belief systems can be so at odds that the idea of a long-term resolution is not really realistic. You know, if like I don't know if y'all love it, like for instance, here I'm in Brooklyn, right? Occasionally I go down to Do or Die Bed-Stuy, right? In Bed-Stuy you can get some Senegalese spots. I'm not sure if the Senegalese are Muslim per se. I don't know. But there's going to be a time where you hear a loud ass bell and all these Muslims go indoors. Or you're going to, matter of fact, I don't even think they were Muslim. I think there was, actually, no, I think so, because I went to the store, I was like, oh man, let me get some of this Jollof, you know? Come down, I go down, get some Jollof, right? I go down and get some Jollof, and then this individual, hold on a second, why does this chat stay, I gotta do live chat. It be censoring it all the time. But anyway, I go down to get some Jollof, and they're like, oh no, we can't open, we're not open right now because there's a Muslim holiday going on, right? The reality is this, that human groups are, if you do not check the religious influence in the nations that you are trying to, the spaces and nations that you're trying to design, if you do not check the religious beliefs, the reality is this, that they're going to build churches, and they're going to build mosques, and they're going to influence the culture. They're going to influence the commerce. They're going to influence, and you have to ask yourself, how desperate are you for people? How desperate are you for change? How desperate are you? Because if you are too desperate, right, you might end up with something worse. Or just something that's, you know, like I said, you could end up in 24 years in prison. So let's see. I'll go back to the comments. Let's see what's going on. Mr. Tetable says, LOL. I know Arthur is active, so we're going to get into that. Arthur says, what was he for? What was he for? See, we have no idea what he was for. He was just against Islam. That's the problem. So many of us are anti-religion. That's a waste of time. Well, I think he was like president of the Humanist Society, so he might have been pro-humanism. I don't know. Lero says, remember they tried to sentence that woman to death for a photo shoot or something like that? Crazy, right? Trigger Happy says, anti-religion is a net positive. If we don't have a plan in which we organize a social order that is independent of another people's culture, we are finished. That's it. As it says, if you ever want me to talk about how we should treat religion, I'll be happy to speak on it. I'm not saying religion isn't a problem. I've never said that. I said that our talk is counterproductive. Anti doesn't accomplish much. What are you for? What are you for? What are you building? All this bashing hasn't accomplished shit. Well, I'll say this to my credit. This is a podcast. You know, I'm not going to. I can't. You know, this is a podcast. You know what I'm saying? I can't do anything else but let y'all hear my voice on these subjects. But yeah, no. I mean, look. Look. It's not so much about anti versus pro. And I mean, I tell you, it's not really so much about anti versus pro as much as the reality of the human condition, which is that if you're talking about something as macroscopic as a worldview, two worldviews just don't go along. You can't put down a worldview and expect to get along. You know, that's the thing about, you got to understand about the European. The European is one of the most united groups on the planet, right? One of the most united groups on the planet. And you know what this white boy did? Even though you might say, hey, look, he has a lot of division in religion. He does. But his division is within the same religion. He burned witches. He burned the pagans. They killed the pagans. They did not. They said, "Hey, look, if you have this one disagreement, sure, you have your little corner of Christianity. I have my little corner of Christianity. We're going on a fucking crusades, though. To this day, father of their religions, the Jews, persecuted. Gypsies they don't like. And like I tell you, this is one of the most united people on the planet. One of the most united people on the planet. They said, we will unite under one God. One deity. Christ. And that same mentality came down to us in Africa. They said, look, we gonna, do you regard the Holy Trinity? Nah, I don't do that shit. Well, fuck you. I'm going to kill your dumb ass. Do you regard the Holy Trinity? Yeah, but I believe that, it's really a metaphysical, blah, 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 blah. Wait. Hold on a second. Metaphysical as in a Gnostic or metaphysical as in a Baptist? Baptist? Okay, sure, you good. I'm telling you the truth. Y'all not paying attention. Y'all like, oh man, you just joking. You just shit. Are you a comedian? Is you Chris Rock? Did you get slapped in the face? I shouldn't say that because I don't have to sort of like that. All right, Oliver says, build education, economic and cultural institutions, apparatuses. That's what we need to be doing, not bitching and moaning about what people are doing wrong. Look, I feel you. But again, look. You go down, like you said, build a cultural institution. This guy is the president of the Humanist Society. But it's not no chump. President, you said build a cultural institution, right? President of the Humanist Association of Nigeria. Okay? That's a cultural institution. You understand? Now he builds the cultural institution. You say, hey man, shut the fuck up and build the cultural institution. He builds the institution. He's the president of the institution. You know, I don't know if y'all know about our Bookman's channel. I don't know if she ever interviewed this guy, but she interviewed some humanists before. And they're very clever, very intelligent people, very logical people. They make the reason. They say, hey, why are we using we shouldn't like the humanists. If you even go into this Molefi Asante conversation, Molefi Asante is being accused of being a humanist, and he's 82-year-old elder with 90 books to his name. Okay, and the chair of the African African Studies Department in Temple University. Now, basically, what's being said is that now he's contributing to an institution. This guy, Mubarak, probably doesn't have the same tenure as Molefi Asante. But the story would be that when Molefi Asante was in his 30s, that if America had just arrested him on the grounds of him being a humanist, right? And arrested him for 24 years, that we should look around and say, oh, well, why are we talking about what's wrong? When it's obviously, clearly, something's wrong with the mentality that will arrest somebody for nothing and put him in prison for 24 years. 24 years is not a joke. This is a man. Now, I'm not saying that I would promote humanism, but again, now humanism. If for those of you, like I said, if you watch on Boatman's channel when she used to produce more videos, like the humanist argument, in a sense that I've heard from them, was something along the lines of, well, we want to formulate an ethical system or an ethical tradition or a moral system that's not based off of people on another part of the world that were, in the desert 2,000 years ago. Like, that's a different ethical system than the one that we should have today. We should have something that more corresponds with our environment today. As to say, what do people who had goats and so on and so forth, what do they know about traffic laws? What do they know about so on and so forth? And so the idea being that you want to modernize the ethical system so as to say that if we're talking about, hey, build a cultural institution, this is a cultural institution. And he got 24 years. And I want y'all to understand that if you kill a man by accident in America or what have you, you could get like maybe 15, 20 years. Let me read these comments though. Because I mean, we have to understand that there is, even if we say, hey, look, let's build institutions, we have to understand that there's also a challenge to us even when we build them. So Afrojam says Senegalese are mostly Muslims, 97%. Okay, all right. Did not know that. Trigger Happy, I guessed it, but I wasn't sure, right? Trigger Happy Plus says anti are for are in tandem. You must know what you are against and shape around what you are for. You cannot avoid the anti. We not with the soft stuff. Yeah, you keep being anti. See where it gets you. I will join with those who are building something. Again, I want to emphasize, what Trigger Happy is saying is actually, we really have to pay attention to that. If you are for modernizing the legislative system, you're for modernizing the legal code in a state, but you're in a state that says, hey, you know what? The word of law is the Quran, right? You cannot not be anti-Quran. Afrojam says, Abrahamic religions degenerates the original culture and traditions. Afrojam says, I will join with the Muslims, the Christians, atheists, Rastafarians, anyone who wants to build something for Black African people. And I mean, I get it. I get the sentiment. It sounds good, but it's not realistic. If you do not want to live under the Quran, you cannot build with Muslims. And if you don't want to live under the Christians, under the Bible, you really can't build with Christians either. And I mean, this is the thing. Like I said, one of the things that the ancestors tell you is that you can listen to anybody and learn something. And one of the things that you so at one point somebody advised I listened to that crazy American who thinks that we're Native Americans, right? I can't remember his name, but anyway, so he had this video where he was like, that religion, like every government was formed from a religious group or something like that. And I mean, I don't know the veracity of it, right? But to a certain extent, to a certain degree, a lot of the governments of the world are centered around religious groups. And I'm not just saying, Israel. I'm talking about the United States. We're talking about Saudi Arabia. We're talking about Rome. We're talking about the Igbo, the Asante. You say to yourself, wait, what's the difference between the Igbo and the Asante? You say, well, that's actually the spiritual system, the religious, the ethnicity in a sense. Like essentially, now you might be like, well, no, they're not really religions. They're just a group of people who practice a certain sort of norms and customs based off of their tradition and their ancestors. And then you say to yourself, Bumbaclaw. You understand? Now, when we come along and we say, hey, look, actually, we want to have a multi-religious, and that's nice. It sounds good. It sounds like what the American founders were talking about. Freedom of religion. But when you're being realistic, and you realize that too, I want y'all to remember what we read in Yurugu. When you realize what we learned in Yurugu is that a lot of these quote unquote Abrahamic faiths, they if you do the math, they come through from Arianism. Okay? You realize that the Aryan philosophy is about taking over nations. I don't know if y'all understand that. The Aryans, the story starts off with this dude named Moses, I don't know, who decides to found a nation or tries to take over a nation, tries to destroy, all this sort of stuff. Like the whole basis is these foreigners come over and try to take over the nation, how to take over the nation from other people. If you study what this Aryanism is about. And so it really comes down to us as African people saying, hey, look, I'll work with anybody. Aryans, I don't give a shit. I'll build with Aryans. And it's like, okay, I get it. But when you understand the historical position of the Aryans, right? Then you realize that it's even different from if you were to say, the Buddhists or the so on and so forth, the non-Aryans. But it's complicated. It's complicated. Lero says secularism got to be promoted within the state. So yeah, I mean, and again, that's gonna come at odds with people, because again, to what extent do you promote secularism? And this is why I said, when we talk about forming a nation, we have to really grasp that a part of a nation is and this is a part of the reason why I also understand the spiritualism argument, because what happens is that if you are not it's a really complicated situation. It's really complicated. But we're just going to keep moving forward. Got monarchs and Afrojam says got monarchs and priests who are Christian and Muslim, but the cultures are polytheistic, right? Let's keep going. Did I scroll too fast? Hold on a second. Let's see. Where? Shit. Okay. Seems like someone didn't read. Both of my comments reiterated that. Okay, so Trigger Happy says, someone didn't read. Both of my comments reiterated that you need a for, but an anti follows with that. We can't avoid that. We have to be a non-compromising on that. Lero says the reality is that they can't coexist. And then Trigger Happy agrees, and Lero says, or it wouldn't even be a talking point. Afrojam says Muslims and Christians hate African traditions. You go there talking about multiple deities, they will attack you. Trigger Happy goes, not just that. It's like, I mean, look, I don't personally go to no Muslims and tell them hey man, I don't give a shit about your religion, right? Or fuck your religion. Like real talk. If I see a Muslim, I say, like I said, like the way how I navigate is, you don't bother me, I don't bother you, and I think that's partly what Arthur George trying to say too, like let's stop fucking with them, right? But at the same time, there comes, it's a little bit tougher when the state actually imposes their religion on you. And then it's like, oh, well, as much as you want to be like, oh, I don't want to fuck with you, right? They gonna fuck with you. You understand? So Trigger Happy goes on, religion is just one of those conversations where there's just too much soft stuff. I like to get to the point. All the Arabic are trash. We don't got time to bring back a foreigner's religion. Either you remove it or you don't. Even though they are, and Afrojam goes, even though they are maintaining structures from polytheistic cultures, they are not really following their own religion, but their purpose is to destroy the original culture. Mr. Untouchable says, I would like to see a completely secular African state. I know it will never happen in my lifetime. We have to start building states. But the thing is that we're not building states. Afrojam says, many atheists are just mimicking modern whites. That's another thing. Peter Medicine says 100. Afrojam says, Africans have never been atheists. We're going to talk about this later with the Molefi Asante thing, because that's a part of the division. Bit of Medicine says, black folk like to cling to their religion, boy. These religions are fundamentally against African traditions. Get over it, right? Arthur George says, y'all living in a fantasy land. Attacking religion is great for controversy, not for accomplishing anything. No, again, like I said, we have to be realistic about the fact that we are living in religious states. And it's not about so much as you want to attack religions as much as you do not want to be in a religious state. And you don't believe that we should be in a religious state. I don't believe that when I want to eat on a Sunday morning that every store should be closed. You understand? I don't believe that there should be prayer before a congressional meeting. Right? I don't want to be inconvenienced by a belief system that has nothing to do with me. And I think that Africans should have states that are not based off of a Western Aryan model. And I get that you shouldn't. And so I know, I think I'm getting what Arthur George is saying, which is like, hey, don't go out of your way. But at the same time, we have to understand that if you're in a modern state, for instance, I guess the way how to say it is this. This guy could get the death penalty based off of not following the Quran. You understand? And in the middle of Nigeria. And that in and of itself is a little bit too much, I would think. Being obliged and obligated and threatened to follow the death penalty, until to have the death penalty or even 24 years in prison for just not being a Muslim in a sense is a bit of a thing. And then, we have to also realize that these states, they go to war with each other, and religious wars at that. And then you're kind of financing this. It's like, it's not as, I don't want to say it's that simple. But like realistically speaking, you're talking about, well, you're part of a nation that will then attack another group off of this, religious difference, this religious discourse. It's really, I get what Arthur George is saying, but I also, I think that we are too comfortable in the West, where we're kind of removed from the situation, and we kind of just go along with, the Christian iconography all the time, So we're just so used to being in the middle of a Christian nation with quasi freedom of religion that, we're not necessarily putting ourselves, we're not really extending the empathy towards, African countries that really deal with, actual conflict, actual assaults, actual attacks. Like one of the big stories out of Nigeria is that there's this Boko Haram that's just molesting the people. Just essentially it's not even religion per se as much as it's ethnicity, but essentially the Fulani are terrorizing the Yoruba and the Igbo based off of partly based off of religious difference, but they're getting away with it from the government. Like the government is sanctioning them or just looking the other way as they bomb trains and murder people and have their cattle walking over their land and all this. It's just really not it's really not the cakewalk. It's really not the cakewalk that we make it seem like, oh, well, just leave them alone. It's harmless. Like in America, it seems harmless because everybody's just Christian and everybody is just in your face and you can't do anything, whatever. But they're not like imprisoning you, or they're not like walking over your land because you're not Christian. Anyway, let's see. Trigger Happy says, but you keep acting like no one here don't deal in a reconstructive analysis. Again, you keep avoiding the facts that if you want to transgress society, you must be critical of the social order. No revolution avoids this. Afrojam goes, many black Muslims were conquered by other Africans. The Muslims were never friendly to non-Muslims. They waged jihad on them. Most Africans were not under Arab colonialism. Lero says, it's really about being tolerant, then separate all pro and anti-religious sentiment from the state. I mean, it ain't much else you can do. Folks go and rock how they rock. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, because you do not have the separation of church and state in most countries, not even, like, because you don't have separation of church and state in Africa, it's a little bit harder to be like, yeah, I want to build in an African state that doesn't have separation of, like, I want to build something that has nothing to do with religion in a country where the state is actually religious, but anyway, Trigger Happy says, yes, you have to work within the people. You have, what the, these things, y'all was just writing the whole book. All right, let's go. Yes, you have to work with their people of all religious creeds. Avoidable, but when you do, are we just going to have a multitude of foreigner religions? It's unavoidable, bro. Did black Muslims attack Arab countries? Afrojam says, did black Muslims attack Arab countries? Probably not. Trigger Happy says, can't keep dodging that. Afrojam says, no. Lero says, people ain't get these religions peacefully. It is what it is. Afrojam says, Europeans even promoted Islam because they knew what it would do to the mind. Those who were not into that, they vigorously promoted Christianity. Afrojam says, they wanted to make sure the original cultures were all corrupted and the people need to speak and read some foreigner stuff. Bit of Medicine says, Dane Calloway. Yep. Afrojam says, every African culture don't promote other African cultures like that. They all have different deities, some similar, but some very different. Afrojam says, dude, you have South Africans who want to murder people from Zimbabwe on site, and you're worrying about religion? Mine. Trigger Happy says, religion is among those aspects of colonialism that is plaguing any power building. Just because another issue is plaguing us doesn't mean we avoid religion. Afrojam says, I already spoke on that. You are a hit dog that is hollering. Are you an Abrahamic follower? Afrojam says, the original Africans who joined the Abrahamic religions were corrupted. Afrojam says, they wanted to trade with Arabs and Europeans. And this is the thing, I want y'all to understand that this is one of the issues that divides us. And the thing is that it should divide us. Because the reality is this, that you should be divided before you unite. You should unite in your divisions, honestly. And then let the chips fall where they may. You should not force others to unite with you if they want to divide from you. So if Altazor, like for instance, Altazor says, hey, look, I want to build everybody except for the anti-religious. And that's fine. But that's what it is. You just got to take that with you and say, you know what? I can't build with anti-religious people. I'd rather build with religious people than anti-religious people. And that's it. That's it. That's really the mentality we have to, because that's the thing that's one of the troubles that we have. And I realize this because when you look at this Molefi Asante situation that we're going to talk about, when you realize that what Molefi Asante is about, he's about humanism. He's about the no spiritualism, right? And then the other faction is the Ambazama faction, which is about spiritualism, okay? And essentially, Amawale is going to point out to you that this is at the core of their disagreement. And the reality is that they were trying to make this work when they disagreed on something so fundamental. And the truth is that you should not try to make it work. What Altazor should be doing is saying, hey, look, these people don't like religion. Well, then you know what? I'm not going to build with them. I'll listen to them, but I ain't going to build with them. They could do whatever they want in their little corner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I can from them and then go and apply what I know so that I could build my big, multi multi-religious, multi-spiritual nation. You know, the trouble is that when, but you know, it's like a poet. The poet said, Madame Maya Angelou said, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. You know, if you don't believe in them, if you don't believe in the other person, right? If you don't believe they're capable of building a nation, just leave them alone and go for the people that you think can. But don't try to convince them, because the reality is this, that they're trying to convince you, you're trying to convince them, and nobody's going to give up on that. Me personally, I don't care for the religions. I don't. No, just I don't. Trigger Happy goes on. Religion is among those aspects of colonialism that is plaguing any power building. Just because another issue is plaguing us, yeah, so on and so forth. I think I read that. Let's see. They want to trade with Arabs, so on and so forth. Spiritualists in Africa get highly persecuted all the time, but we supposed to just ignore it. It's absurd. More than with other Africans. People need to read about Ghana and when it turned Muslim and how it played a major role in the Arab enslavement. After says, Afrojam, when you have something you want to build, let me know. Otherwise, please desist with personal interrogations. Tanzan says, imagine being woken up loudly at 4 a.m. for their prayers. I'm like, get an alarm and let others get their rest. Afrojam says, they were betrayed and Arabs invaded them anyway, and it contributed to the end of the empire. Leto says, wreaking havoc with impunity. There are lived realities, real lives lost and affected. It's not an easy fix, but it must be done. Yeah, I mean, it's really important. Afrojam says, or about Congo and how some sellouts chose to become Catholic and wanted recognition from the Pope. Afrojam says, because they were fighting their own people to break away. Mr. Untouchable says, when I hear that 24-year-old sentence, I'm like, can someone get Lord Lugard on the phone? Jeez, I don't want to get Lord Lugard on the phone. Afrojam says, Trigger Happy, good point. And Afrojam says, most ordinary Africans don't know the history. If they knew, a good number would quit, right? Yeah. And then Bit of Medicine says, yeah, prove us wrong then. Yeah, I mean, like, that's all it is. Like at the end of the day, the reality is this. We have to understand that we cannot all be in the same house. You know what I mean? We just have to accept that. That's the thing that we don't realize. That's the thing that we don't, as a people, want to accept, is that realistically speaking, we can't all be in the same house, and we do have different worldviews. And unless you're willing to see, it's like I think the old phrase is that there are too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Everybody want to be the main designer. Everybody want to like we don't understand hierarchies. Everybody want to be at the top. Everybody want their voice heard, and that's fine. But you're never going to get that kind of solidarity. And the reality is this, that like me personally, I'm saying to you right now, I don't mess. Like if you said, hey man, this is a beautiful African nation, blah, blah, blah. All you got to do is pray on Sunday. Every morning on Sunday. I'll just say, okay, no thanks. I'll go find something else. That's it. You say, hey man, we're free. We don't got to do stuff. I said, no thanks. I'd rather live in the bushes. You know, so if you want to build something for yourself, then build it. But don't whine about other people who do not want to be a part of no religious institution. What is this? I don't remember this. Did I read this one? Americans Stay on Code? Did I read this? I probably did. Oh, yeah. So anyway, so this is it. This is Molefi Asante. Let's go for it. I said, but wait, there's more. Y'all know that one. Yeah. So before we get started, let's cause I know y'all excited. Let's just remind you that we're part of a podcasting network.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
So anyway, let me see what's going on. So we have, prove us wrong then. Trigger Happy says, I think the thing too that we might need to reconcile with is that we might have to eventually wage war against those we see with a different vision. And that's what it is. You know, and you have to be realistic too. You know, like I said, war is not about who's right. War is about who is left. That's what it all comes down to, right? Arthur Zora signed out. He says, look, when you want to use my talents to build something for Black African people, give me a call. I'm a mechanical engineer, a math teacher, and a musician. Peace and blessings, right? So I don't know if he signed out for that, but like I said, this is a serious thing. A serious thing that we as a people have to reconcile with. And the reality is that we're probably going to live in different nations. Like if we talk about nation building, we're probably all seeking to build different nations, and we're probably not all seeking to build the same nation. And it's better for you to know right now what kind of nation people are trying to build instead of going through the years and risking your life and possibly dying for a nation you don't want built. And this is what happened in Haiti, in fact. You know, in fact, I want you to understand about the Haitian Revolution, right? If Napoleon did not kill Toussaint, Haiti would have been a colony of France. Okay? Haiti would have been a colony of Francis. Haiti would have been a Catholic a Catholic colony. And I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know. Because Toussaint writes up a constitution, and he says the religion of Haiti, he says Haiti will be a French colony. Haiti will have a Catholic church at its head, and Haiti will continue a sort of slavery. You know, the blacks will still be enslaved in Haiti. So Dessalines is sitting up with Toussaint, and he's fighting his ass off. He's risking his life. He's rushing into battle. He's sitting over these battles. You know, Leclerc or whomever is like, hey man, if I ever catch Dessalines, I'm gonna chop him up into 1,000,000 pieces, right, and put him in sardine cans. People are risking their lives to fight for the freedom of Haiti, right? And Toussaint is like, hey man, you can still be a colony. So then, after Toussaint is killed, Dessalines writes up a constitution. Dessalines' constitution is along the lines of, hey, you know what? No, we a nation. And any black person on this planet that wants to be free can live here. Free. We'll even pay people to get black folk here for free. Okay? We're going to build our defense. We're going to be a military threat. We're not going to be necessarily imperialists, but we're going to promote, we're going to have quote unquote freedom of religion. As I say, we're not going to have a state religion. There's going to be no religion at the head of the state. We're going to have freedom for black people. Okay? Dessalines is killed. By whom? By the mulattoes that also helped fight. And what happens with the mulattoes? They say, oh, well, France, we're gonna pay you back some reparations. And, you know, we're gonna have a working relationship with you, and we're gonna be broke ass people. We're gonna make sure these black folk are broke for the next how many years. But we mulattoes, we're gonna be good. Right? And you tell Afrojam just said Haiti is Catholic though, unfortunately. You see? Y'all understand? You had several factions fighting, but because they didn't decide, well, what is the final goal? Right? The reality is this, that at the end of the day, somebody's going to win. And if you are okay, like I said, if you are okay with putting your life on the line in Haiti and ending up with what you have today, right? Which is better than, being enslaved. Now I'm not going to hold y'all. Better than being enslaved. But if you're okay with putting your life on the line to end up with what you have today, which is, some people say Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And it's one of those deeply religious Catholic countries in the Western Hemisphere. If you understand that some people are not going to be fighting for the same goals that you're having, then you have to have them articulate their goals right away. And you say, look, I got nothing against you. If you want to build what you want to build, go and build it. But I'm not building that. I'm not building the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. I'm not building that. I don't plan on making the poorest nation in Africa. That's not my goal. You understand? And I want y'all to understand what is it that your life is worth? You got to ask yourself that. Let's just read the comments quickly. Everjan says, that's what Africans were doing. The continent needs maroons too. Trigger Happy says, some might say I'm hyperbolic, but that's just history. Just there is such a thing as operational unity, but that's a temporary measure. Yeah, but you have to understand that even in operational unity, right? You have to understand that you have to position yourself to be, like, you have to articulate your views, not keep it behind, because the reality is this, that there are other people who are working against you, and you'd rather, or working against your vision, and you'd rather have that clear. You think Dessalines wanted to die and leave Haiti to these mulattoes? You think Dessalines planned that? You know, if y'all don't pick up the Book of Power, pick up the Book of Power, and you're going to read some speeches by Dessalines. One of the only English translations, one of the well done English translations. You know, like essentially there are English translations, but they're not really well done, right? One of the only few English translations, you're going to read it, and you're going to see that this is a brother who was like, hey, look, man, I gave my life to this. I gave 20, 30 years. I could have been rich, you know? All things considered, I could have been rich. I could have been wealthy. I could have been well-to-do. I gave my life to this. And if you guys betray this, you will go back into a wretched condition. And he's saying that in front of people. And they betrayed it. Because you got to know. I'm telling you, y'all not listening to me. It's okay. Lero says, resolution to conflicts and contradictions is an action, not something that just happens. Mr. Touchable says, good old Uncle Asante. LOL. Afrojam says Haiti is Catholic though, unfortunately, and bitter medicine confirms that it's still kind of become that re-Haiti. Afrojam says that happens after all wars. The winners will divide up the stuff and fight again. The current issue with Russia and America is a result of beating the Axis. Yep. That's it. Everybody has their own goals. So anyway, now before we preface this Molefi Asante thing, I want y'all to understand that he's being accused of being a part of the anti-racism coalition, right? Now, I don't know if y'all actually. I might have to wrap this up pretty quickly because check this out. This is so he doesn't want to talk about this issue. Molefi Asante doesn't want to talk about this issue. So live in 2 hours on his channel, anti-racism research with Dr. Timothy Welbeck. So it's not really an unsubstantiated accusation. I want y'all to understand that. It's not an unsubstantiated accusation. This he might just be, but I want y'all to I really want to go over this and I ask y'all what's really going on, right? So this is Molefi Asante. This is the Molefi Asante Kete Asante Institute. Y'all could go check it out at 4 p.m. in a bit. But before, and this is only public. This is like maybe his first public engagement after the so-called break in Afrocentricity. And what's interesting is that he was invited by this individual named Jared Ball, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some double consciousness stuff soon, right? And Jared Ball said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about this Afrocentricity break," and Molefi Asante said, "I don't want to talk about that shit." Well, I don't know if that was verbatim, but basically, that is a little bit interesting, right? So let's jump into this. So this is video. I thought it was going to be about. I thought it was going to be Molefi Asante, but it was Omowale Africa, who was interviewed in this quote unquote special edition of addressing Afrocentricity International's break with Dr. Molefi Asante. Now it's a good audio. It's a radio program. Time for an Awakening. I think over on Abibi Tumi, right? And this is the Black Talk Radio and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm going to jump into different sections, and we're going to see what it is that we could take from this, because it really touches on these fundamental ideas that really do pull us apart. So we're going to jump to 33 minutes. All right.
African liberation, about revolution, and about empowering our people to bring about an African Renaissance. I think that a lot of us have always known that in many ways, Dr. Asante leans a bit more integrationist, and that he's always going to make space for others if it can advance his objective of advancing the discipline within their system. So I think that accommodationist nature kind of like has always been there. But I think the fundamental difference when we talk about the Afrocentric idea, and we talk about the difference between, Africanity versus being Afrocentric, comes down to this very simple question. And ultimately, I think that is what started bringing some of this stuff to the surface, right? The question becomes, can you call yourself Afrocentric, right? Can you be Afrocentric without practicing African culture? And can you practice African culture without practicing African spirituality? Now, Dr. Mazama would fundamentally say the answer to that is no. Like, African spirituality is central to us understanding who we are, to us really understanding and creating from our asili, if we're talking about rebirthing a dead people, right? Dr. Asante, on the other hand, does not believe in spirit. He doesn't believe in spirituality. He's an atheist. So he would argue that he believes in science. So he's always going to create space for modes of thinking and ways of thinking that contradict what he says he's trying to bring about. So that small friction had always been there, and they understood that it was a point of disagreement, so they didn't touch it much. It was only when kind of like pressure was applied to the relationship between these two entities that it created an explosion, and things came to the forefront and produced a lot of nastiness, a lot of vindictiveness, all right. So basically, but that's what I'm saying. Y'all see this. I want y'all to understand. Now this is the thing I want to actually point out too. There's two things to it, right? Let me look at these comments first, though. Current issue with Russia, so on and so forth. Tanzania and Jared Ball, is he mixed? Yeah, he's mixed. That's what I don't really fully understand about this whole conversation. That's what I don't understand about this whole conversation. Like I said, this is the double consciousness I face. So Du Bois is right about this double consciousness. He says, hey man, black Americans have this double consciousness because they feel like they are Black American, but they also feel like they're American. I don't have the same double consciousness. I feel like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm African American, but I'm also an African. And so as an African looking at this, I don't know what the fuck's going on. As an African American, I would say, oh, dang, what's like shit, like, oh man, this looks like some big stuff. As an African, I don't understand this. If y'all so phenotypically, the question comes up about, like Jared Ball and even Al-Mazama. Phenotypically, you ask yourself, like, what's like, as an African, you're looking in like, why are they in this conversation? Phenotypically, I don't know the background of Al-Mazama, right? I do happen to know the background of Jared Ball is that he's mixed. All right. But he's a key journalistic player in this conversation. And that's what, for me as an African, it doesn't make any sense. For the African American, I'm like, oh, I get it. That's shit, But again, like, this is a double consciousness that I face. It's different from most of y'all, but you
It is what it is. Mr. Untouchable says, can you send us where you found that Dessalines translation? I don't remember, but there's like a couple of translations you could find, and then you realize that there are like there's one guy, I think, like a Haitian guy who translated, but he wasn't really good at English. So what I did was I fixed the English and I compared it with other translations that you would find from I guess some white people would have recorded the speech or translated the speech from the French text and so on and so forth. Now you can also find the French text, if you will, but that's another thing altogether. Afro Jam says, Haiti gradually reached the position Bolivia historically became the poorest, right? Was not became. It is anecdotal for many Pan-African individuals. As they fail to achieve goals, many gradually degrade and become liberal or accommodationist or Abrahamic. Well, I don't know. Again, this is the interesting thing. Sugar Happy says she is Guadalupan. A majority of Guadalupans are mixed. Yeah. So again, from phenotypically, you would think, why is this lady the face of African spirituality in America, right? And like from an African position, right? From an African American position, however, it makes perfect sense. You're like, oh yeah, like I said, like Jared Ball's the face of Black Power media. So it just makes perfect sense in African, it doesn't make any sense to me, but it is what it is, right? But anyway, so this divide, like I said, you have that, and we have to just be explicit, because see, this sort of divide that happened, this 33-minute, this atheism versus spiritualism thing, that should have settled it from jump. Instead, you want it under the surface. You want like what we want to do is that we are so desperate to cling to each other that we will break apart publicly, or we will do something devastating, or we will support points of views that we do not support for a long time before we just say to ourselves, you know what, damn it, no. And save the time and energy. See, because if y'all don't know what's happening here in this situation, eventually when they have this break, a lot of people are going to lose their money. You understand? A lot of people are going to lose their investment. A lot of people are going to, like everybody loses in this situation. All because we wanted to do the bigger thing and say, leave your spirituality at home. We wanted to listen to Malcolm X. Malcolm X, the minister. The minister is telling you, leave your spirituality at home. But anyway, let's go to 55 minutes. This one is going to be about, breakup from elections. So this is actually really important. Because this is the thing that really jumped up on me. If y'all don't know,
I believe this is September 2020. We're having a conversation by phone.
He said this is the last conversation they had. Amawale and Molefi.
Reached out to him about this, and we didn't talk about the conference at all. He was very much concerned with my politics, because this was during the time of the 2020 election. So this we're speaking. I believe this is September 2020. We're having the conversation by phone, and the first thing he expressed to me was that he was a bit disappointed that the Philadelphia chapter wasn't doing more to kind of like host forums for, the local elected officials and to kind of like to get out the vote and things of that nature. Right. So he expressed disappointment there. And, this is, I'm working on a documentary at that time, and I'm actually very vocal personally about Black people abstaining from voting if, we aren't necessarily getting anything. So, he brought that up to me and let me know that, he hopes that I'm not, speaking on behalf of the organization when I'm talking about, voting. And I'm like, no, I would never navigate a conversation on voting on behalf of the organization. And I'm, speaking from me as an individual. This is my position, and we kind of like ended this conversation with him saying, well, I don't really, he doesn't really, respect or agree with the Malcolm X position on the vote.
Y'all had the Malcolm X position.
We're here in America. We make our money in America, so we should be, engaging in these particular systems. So
now, all right. So the thing I wanted to point out too, this is the thing I picked up on, right? Is that at that same time, like the Black community was dividing itself. And I was like, that's silly. Why are we talking about American politics all the time? And I'm going to be honest, I thought Omawale was talking about it a lot, too. Eventually, I was blocked by Omawale and this other dude on Twitter because I was like, yeah, no, nobody's going to go along with that. And this guy's, and I was like, Biden's going to win the election. You know? Like, he's going to win the election and black folk are going to vote for him. It's like, it's in the cards, you know? I was blocked for that. So it's like, part of me is like, I get where Molefi Asante is coming from, where it's like, why is this fuck shit? Like, why am I hearing about this election shit? Like, why is this a thing? You know damn well black Americans are going to so on and so forth. But now, while it goes in a little more detail, and this is actually something that, is even above and beyond. Because most people would just think, hey, it's kind of like a lot, like there's a whole documentary on black people not voting, which is just like not realistic. Black people are going to vote in numbers, and like nobody really cares about this election that deeply. Like if Trump wins, whatever. If Trump loses, whatever. And I don't think it's and I was saying I don't think it's a revolutionary stance to not vote. I just think that's just not voting. That's all it is.
I are having this conversation in September 2020 about his disappointment with AI for not being more active on the local political.
So, like I said, I didn't tell you guys, but this is an hour and 2 minutes in, where he's going to discuss about how Molefi's getting money from the Democrats.
Seeing with the elected officials and and hosting forums and things of that nature. Unbeknownst to me, what's happening in the background is that there are local politicians who are considering giving a large sum of money to Temple University for what is this thing called? The Center for Anti-Racism. And that money is coming through the Department of Africology, and they're getting funding to basically, this is all in the local newspaper, so you can go read all this stuff now. But they're basically getting funding for 4 additional faculty members within Africology. So of course, Dr. Asante, being the chair of the Department of Africology, gets to kind of like disperse that. So this is all happening in the background. So first I think there's a grant that comes through for like $1 million. And then the local state representative, Malcolm, whatever his name is, he replaced Curtis Thomas over there on.
Okay, y'all get it though, dude. And you guys, like I said, you guys can listen to this audio. It's like I'm not trying to get in trouble with no copyright again. It's actually like what happens if I get in trouble with copyright is that they force me to take out the audio, and so it just messes up everything. So that's the reason why I'm cutting it short and I'm talking over the audio. It's just so that I don't get in trouble with this stupid censorship thing. But yeah. So anyway, so the next one is essentially allegedly Molefi Asante encounters Amambazama and says, "Hey, you're not my equal," So that's a little bit shorter. Like it's like actually like 30 seconds, but I'm just gonna skip ahead anyway, because like I said, you can't not,
In June, we get a communication basically from Doc saying the Molefi Asante Institute is going to reopen operations. However, Afrocentricity International will no longer be allowed to use the facility because it'll be under new management, right? And Dr. Mazama, mind you, at this time, she's out of the country. She's in Guadeloupe.
In Guadeloupe, yeah. All right. So what was I saying? So I mean, all right. Let me just skip through it. This eventually he calls and says she's not his equal. He's Molefi Asante. He's so on and so forth. And like I said, from an American point of view, you would say, and like I said, like this is the confusion part, right? Where it's like in fact, while I just said, she was in Guadeloupe, right? As far as I can tell, she's Guadeloupean. I don't know if y'all, like some of y'all might not be familiar with how she looks. But basically she looks like a Guadeloupean woman. Like she's not, like if you were to say, hey, go get that African over there, right? You would not know they were talking about her. No disrespect to her. Cause again, like I said, I don't know her ancestry. I don't know the story behind that. But as far as I can tell, I would have never guessed, personally, right, that the face of African studies would be hers in a sense, right? Later on, Owali's going to go over this idea that she and this white lady are up for the chair of Africology, okay? And again, like, my thinking is this. I would have never, so this is Zama. So I would have never, like, if you told me that, what was his name? Molefi Asante does not see race in his decision making, I would have believed you. I don't think it's a breakaway for him to not be quote unquote Africa just based off of who his second in command is. I'm not even convinced that the Afrocentricity, just based off of who their founder is or who their leader is, that they're just Africa. Now, I could be wrong. Like I said, you could have a phenotype. You could be phenotypically just lighter, and less kinky hair. That's a possibility. I don't know, but I ask around. I say, hey, what is her parentage? And people don't say that they don't process it. And again, like I said, they're also going on Jared Ball's page. And Jared Ball is a known mulatto. Like, he's not even like a suspected mulatto. He's a known mulatto. And the other part of this too was that there's a quote inside of the communication that says something along the lines of Molefi Asante is going towards humanism. Okay, Molefi Asante is going towards humanism. What that means by going towards humanism is he's like, oh, the human view and the human blah, 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 blah. And then what happens is this, that you listen to him. So I said, let me go listen to this guy, because I don't know. I really never listened to him. I really never rocked with him. He seemed kind of on the American stuff, and I was not really with the American stuff like that. So I said, let me listen to this guy, right?
A person who had a different dress than yours, or?
So, all right, yeah. So what he's going to articulate now is that this interviewer is going to ask him, they're going to say, hey, what is the Afrocentric view? How is it different from the Eurocentric view? And what Molefi Asante is going to point out is that essentially the Afrocentric view is to look at others not by their way of dress, not as superior and inferior, or to relegate other people into the animal status, right? As the European did with African people. But to look at every human as human, or to look at everybody as human. And that's the quote unquote. And so this is the quote. Let me show you actually.
Or a different complexion than yours, that you made a determination that that person was less than you or greater than you. That was not an African way. So basically what we're in a Eurocentric way of viewing reality, which makes it very difficult for African people, even the best of us in the most progressive sense, to get ourselves out of this. This is a box that the scholar Nadav has spoken of as the one that, in a way, boxes us into race and doesn't allow us to see ourselves as humanity. Because when we see each other as humanity, and we're human beings, then all of these so-called intersectionalities, they fall away. I mean, I don't care. You're just a human being as far as I'm concerned. And if I treat you as a human being, as I see you as a human being, if I relate to you as a human being, then all those other issues do not matter.
One of the things I think about things happening contemporarily,
Oh, damn. Yo, can you imagine I'm on... I was muted again. All right. I just read this passage. All right. So let's see this thing. Champion from Europe, blah, 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 blah. So he says, bold enough to use Afrocentricity. He says, for being bold enough to use Afrocentricity to ask whether or not there can be a better, perhaps more human way to approach the 21st century. And he says, we began this work with the intent to transform race discourses so that we slow the pace of debating illusions and rather spend our time nudging the human community towards the idea of humanity. Thus, our subtitle is Transforming the Race Discourse, which speaks to the need to escape the entrapment of race itself. The falsity of race in biological terms has been demonstrated for decades now. It persists, and many of us have been participants in the language of the racial relations, race interactions, and race disparities as a way of promoting the idea of a false reality. And he says, co-authored by Dr. Asante and Dr. Dorothy Dove, Asante goes as far as to argue that race has no place in the scholarly and practical discourse, which makes us wonder if Dr. Clark would have led, so on and so forth. It appears that he is embraced, so on and so forth. Now, but the thing is this. Now, here's the issue, I would say, right? Here's the issue. The argument being put forward in regard to this breakup is that this is a senile man. Now, I don't know if this video was released right when it was published, right? I guess y'all see on the side, whatever, right? I don't know if it was released right it was published, but this is February 24th, 2021. This is the 80-year-old man at this point. And he sounds articulate. He sounds like he knows what he's saying. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Okay? So the plot thickens. Okay? Let me see. Let me see something. So similar to the so-called Pan-Africans, let me see the comments though. The majority of Guadeloupans are mixed. Haiti was strong and optimistic in the beginning, so on and so forth. Similar to so-called Pan-Africanism, who help others change their consciousness but may end up wayward in the end. Strong and optimistic in the beginning, gradually became a laughing stock. Leto says, follow the money, the advice never fails. Molefi, a demo shill. Keta says, you can cuss out colonialism, imperialism, and all other kinds of isms, but it's hard for you to cuss that dollarism. When they drop those dollars on you, your soul goes. Malcolm X. Billy Madison says, I'm Molefi Asante, bitch. Right? Kida says she's multiracial. Keta says, lots of people in the French colonies are mixed. Lero says, I mean, is Molefi really lying though? Did our ancestors truly view others as such prior to colonization? And see, that's the point. That's the thing that I'm really trying to get at. Is this a shift in the Afrocentric view? Because see, I actually, if I really recall my first few interactions with Afrocentricity, I realized that, can you guys hear me now? All right. Wait, let me see something. Let me just turn on this. The Afrocentric. Yeah. All right. See, I realized that, yeah, he's talking about, like if you listen to this lecture, you realize that he's trying to promote and put African, like he wants to teach about Imhotep in every school around the world. You understand? He's like, hey, Africans contributed to the first societies because we're the first people and we should everybody should learn about us, and all that we contributed, and we are just a part of the human family. As I say, and this is something that I actually remember from way back. You know what I mean? Where I would read this and be like, that's some old dumb shit. Why would anybody do that? Right? So I do not think that he's suddenly transforming. And like I said, like you said, like other people are saying, the fact that there's a mixed lady, possibly mixed, I don't know. Right? But the fact that there's a possibly mixed lady as a second in command in this organization, and the fact that there is the journalist that they're all interrogating, or the journalist that they're all engaging is a mixed individual, kind of tells you that you like I'm not surprised. In fact, if you guys look at this, because I kept on trying to see if I could hear from Molefi Asante on this issue, right? So what you do, if you go on Google, you go on YouTube, you type in Molefi Asante, or you just probably type in Molefi, then you go sort by upload date, and you see what's going on. This is it. This guy, Jared Ball, says Afrocentricity breaks with Molefi Asante. Then Awalale releases it. And then, there's another one from Black Power Media. I guess because I put in Molefi Asante. So I should just put Molefi, I think. Maybe I shouldn't put Kete. But let's see. You then go, like I said, you go to filters. You go to upload date. This is how you keep informed on what the latest things are. And so this is one of the latest right here. African Studies, the doctor and Afrocentricity speaks on. And this is Jared Ball again. Now, I tell y'all gotta go. Y'all should listen to this because some real, like, Jared Ball is supporting the most gay thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, I don't really listen to gay media like that. So I don't really know if there's gayer media, but like, it was like literally like he was like, I think humans evolved in such a way that, you know, homosexuality is now just a thing that we should do because we can engage that we do because we can now pleasure instead of living for reproduction. And, you know, you just got to get in where you fit in. I was like, that's the gayest shit I've ever heard. Like, if I was in that interview, man, shit, boy. But again, like it's very unlikely that I'll ever be interviewed on a platform like that. But still, yeah, I mean, like, let me just go. Let me see what the comments are. So I think, so let's see. Sounds like, so let me see. I mean, did our ancestors truly view? Yeah, so Lero asked that. So Afrodem says, France done that on purpose after Haiti defeated them. Mr. Tubble says, at the end of the day, Dr. Mazama kept it real and he didn't despite her hue. Exactly. And he didn't despite her hue. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the thing though. It's like, if you're keeping it real, like my thing is this, if he was really about, hey, look, I'm about that African, if he was about that Garveyism, not even Garvey, if he was about that new age, you know, Africa, she would have never been on the top. She would have never been on the second in command. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say that I'm the most anti mixed person. Like I said, I have, I have a double consciousness. You know, so I'm African and I'm African American, right? So I look at it from an African American perspective. I'm with where Mr. Untouchable is, where it's like, shit, that's a sister. From an African American perspective. I'm like, yeah, you got to go on Black Power Media. You made it. If you want Black Power Media, right? That's my African American perspective. From an African perspective, I'm like, why in the world is a mulatto hosting Black Power Media? Why in the world would a mixed person be the second in command? I'm just letting y'all know. Tanzan says, sounds like the onset of intellectual senility. Now, again, the guy is speaking very clear. And he's been speaking this way. That's the thing that we have to understand. He's been speaking this way. As far as memory is concerned, in fact, the book that's cited is that back in 2014. The argument is that in 2014 he wrote a book. Or he wrote the preface to a book of this white lady, I believe. Right here. I think it's right here. The Demise of the Inhuman. This was in 2014 she did this. So the thing is that Afrocentricity starts off in 2012. And the guy's been praising this white woman from 2014. And now it's an issue? Somebody in the comments of the Jared Ball video was like, why is it suddenly an issue now that he's retiring from the chair? And so the idea is that he's going to give the chairmanship to either Amamazama or a white lady. But nobody is bringing up the fact that neither of them would be considered, quote unquote, that deep melanated African. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, I'm not a colorist or a reverse colorist. I'm just telling y'all what it is that, you know, people could see. Sounds like the onset of intellectual senility. Humanism, seeing others as foreigners and barbarians is not only a Eurocentric thing. The Chinese, Japanese, and European and Koreans all perceive others as non-humans and barbaric. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's true. That's true. But that's the issue. You know, the issue is, did Africans necessarily do that? As to say that when Africans were calling, like, the question is, did Africans call other groups Bantu? You understand? Were they calling Europeans Bantu as well, is the question. And so if they were, then it makes sense that a professor in Afrocentricity, the idea of taking on the African worldview, would say, hey, you know what? This worldview of black versus white isn't necessarily our historic worldview. Remember, he's like a professor, 50 years, 90 books, you know? He's not necessarily going for the quote-unquote revolution, as Lero will put it. So I think the question is, what is the revolutionary potential for Afrocentricity, right? He's not necessarily going for he's literally saying, I want to express the African worldview and put Africa in the global conversation instead of leaving Africa out. When you listen to him, you realize that that's what he's been about. Because I'm telling you, I'm going back into the memory banks where I just read this and forgot it. But it's like, yes, we should teach about Imhotep. We should teach about Hannibal. We should teach about the Igbo and ancient Ghana in American schools. It's like the critical race theory without the critical race theory, without being critical of white folk per se. It's about the true story. This is what it was from jump. Bit of Medicine says no sound, but I think I recognize it on time. Lero says, if we stay in true to the doctrine and its intent and purpose, just my thoughts. Exactly. Like, did he really betray it is the question. Or is he being attacked? You see what I'm saying? Or is it that we were trying to compromise and you couldn't compromise? Okay? And that's what I'm saying. Like that's the reality. It's like, are you so desperate to build with others that you're willing to overlook the fact that they are not looking for the same thing as you? Because see, right now, I would be like, there's no way I would have second in command. Like the conditions are, like, I'm telling you, y'all not like, it's really complicated. I'll say it that way. Kenta says, African blacks always preach this high moral ground. Trash like blacks can't be racist because we have no power. Yup. Afrojam says, the words for non-Africans normally has an etymology of an evil apparition. Yeah, sometimes, yeah. But again, this is like, this goes, like, the question is, what's the traditional African viewpoint? You know? As to say that when they first saw these Wazungu, were they calling them Oyinbo, right? Or were they just, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Mr. Untouchable says he's an academic who teaches African history, no more, no less. Don't expect him to believe in the ideas he teaches, right? Afrojam says Oyinbo is not a flattering term. Lero says you're going in on the mixed lady. Tanzan says too much messy mixedness. It is. Black Benjamin says yes. Mr. Untouchable says Joe Biden sounds articulate even though he thinks it's 1983. I mean, I think Joe Biden's pretty old too. I'm not gonna hold you. Yes. My problem with statements like that is that I don't sound like they have a vision or plan when they say get in where you fit in. Even if you believe that, what is your plan for the social order? No. Trigger happy. He was talking about gay shit. When he said this was Jared Ball. Jared Ball was like, he was like, guys should have sex with guys. It was really weird. Trigger Happy says, how do we conspire to figure out a way to interact with each other? What are the terms of marrying men and women in your culture? This is what you have to answer. Yeah. Bit of Medicine says, yuck. JN says, what does balls mixing have to do with his ideology? Well, again, it's about, so that's the thing. That's exactly, JN, that's a good question. Okay. That's a good question. This is the thing that we have to understand as a black people, right? We don't all see eye to eye. And when somebody asks a question like that, you say, look, maybe we're not going to build the same thing. Like you have to realize that, you know, it's probably going to be pretty isolated, but you have to come along and you're going to have a conversation and say, hey, this is actually a serious issue. Whether African people, like whether mixedness is something to be relevant in regards to ideology. And see, some people are going to say, look, your genealogy has nothing to do with your ideology. And some people are going to say, no, your ideology or your genealogy does have to do with your ideology. And it's like, these are some things you just cannot compromise on. And because you cannot compromise on it, do not try to force a unity. Like I said, I do not like the Aryans. I haven't liked them for the last 3,000 years. Okay? I don't. So when I see the Aryans come up, I say, I'm not going to be in a community with Aryans, period. You might be like, well, only then, fuck it, you're not going to have no community. No. I'm going to get mine. That's it. But yeah, what does Ball's mixedness have to do with his ideology? So again, like, the question is, if you're talking about African liberation, right, you have to realize that Africans are Africans. Europeans are Europeans, and mixed people are neither. You said you're not building liberation for mixed people. You're not building liberation for Europeans. You're building liberation for Africans. And so Africans should be in charge, and Africans should be the goal. Now, when you listen to when you listen to Ball, you realize that a lot of his mother's creeping through. Where Wale is firmly talking about, queer theory has no place in Afrocentricity, in African thought, he says. And then Jared Ball is like, well, why not? I think queerness is a natural evolution of people. And see, even if you said, look, if he was an African and he said that thing, you would say, yeah, get the fuck out of here. I don't want a part of you. But the way how it works right now is that even though he isn't an African and he's saying this stuff, black folk are, well, he's the leader. You're never going to go anywhere like that. Afrojam says, shouldn't be having mixed race leaders. Yep, there you go. Afrojam says, in African culture is a crazy corruption. European ancestors can't be called on. Lero says, location matters. Pan-Africanists don't want to accept it, but it matters. Where Molefi is applying his worldview matters. Okay. Kid says, irritated GD asked Jared Ball his position on LGBTQ, and Jared was in support of it. Yeah. Afrojam, LGBTQP for pedophilia. Afrojam says, not such things as reverse colorism. Put dark skin on top. It is good for us. Look, I like the thing is this. The reason why I say no reverse colorism is because, look, I'm not the darkest person on the planet. If I was much darker, I might be like that. But because I'm not the most darkest person, I'm not going to necessarily walk around and like say that I want a system where I'm also discriminated against. You know, I think most people don't try to get discrimination against themselves. I'll be honest. You know, but yeah, I absolutely adore. I do put dark on top, but I wouldn't necessarily say, hey, if you're too light, you can't. You know what I'm saying? If you're too light, you can't fight. You know what I'm saying? You know, I won't say that. You know what I mean? Afrojam says scientifically and culturally. Lero says, as an integrated citizen, what do you expect? I'm not sure he betrayed Afrocentricity. It was his location. I mean, taking money from Whitey, kind of funny. F you, but yeah. No. Okay, so I don't know if he's been taking, I don't know if it was white Democrats or not. I think what happens, and this is what we have to realize too. The dude got $1 million and then another $1 million for his department. Remember, he's the chair of the Africology department. He's supposed to take money. And the thing is that if we are not supporting our own, like if we are not putting out $1 million, we're not putting out $2 million to pay these professors, then the question becomes, should the chair of the Africology department say, like, wait for black folk to pay for the professors, or should they accept the cash from the Democrats who just want to put in, quote unquote, queer theory and humanism, things that he might not necessarily disagree with? That's the question. You understand? And I mean, as Lero put it, you know, the reality is that he's in America. Not just in America, the reality is that he needs capital. You know, and the trouble is that we as African people do not make these sort of donations to maintain these universities, to even put our people through rigorous educational experiences so that they can contribute to society. We're holding it back. And so when this man suddenly has to accept money from the Democrats, which is a normal thing, you know, one thing people don't really remember is that most of the presidents of the United States of America, most of them have been funding or have been setting aside money for these HBCUs. And remember, there's only one president who wasn't a complete white man. Okay? So all the time, the white people are funding these HBCUs. It's very rarely the people, the masses, the black folk, the conscious community. Very rarely are they financing the university system. So even if we try to fault them, and if we try to fault people for taking money from the Democrats, this is the normal thing. Because if we're not financing it, who is? Who's paying for the professors? Who? Because the thing we have to understand about education, I don't know if y'all ever picked up on this, but actually when I told you about the free market, I said, hey, one of the things about free market is that you have to sell something at a profit. Professors are not selling anything at a profit. They're being financed by the state. They're being financed by the university. And they have to find a way to get more funding. And if getting more funding means, hey, put in one of these queer theory professors, then that's the option that we put them into. Because see, the thing is this, we could easily say, hey, look, we got $1 million together. Put in a Garveyite professor. We don't. One of the people that called in on the show was his sister from the Black Panther Party. She was sister from the Black Panther Party. And what she said was that she was actually a professor level, right? And she doesn't get invited for any sort of scholarly positions. She there selling poetry on Amazon now. We have to understand that, like the real world, it's really about practicality at this point. There's reality and there's practicality. There's reality and there's I can't remember what the other thing I put it at, but imaginary, let's say. In the imaginary world, Dr. Molefi Asante, tenured chair and professor for 50 years, can just say, fuck the white school system. We're going to just build something in the little corner over here. Right? And we're not going to collect any money from any outside source unless it's a radical Garveyite source. That's what you could say that. And be a broke woke. Bit of Medicine podcast. Let's finish the comments. Finish the comments. That's what he said. Let's finish the comment. All right. Trigger Happy Plus says, I think the mixed question is just a conversation on who is us and who isn't us. And those broad conversations on the socials just point to how we make sure we are secure in not being infiltrated. Keta says, most mixed individuals are compromised. Afrocentricity says, you are not light. No, I'm not light. But, like if I'm in South Sudan, right, I'm light. You know what I'm saying? In fact, even in Ghana, I was light. So, like, just realistically speaking, if you go by the quote, like in Ghana, like people were looking at me like, I mean, part of it was that they bake it in the sun. And I'm also like an indoors guy, but I mean, I'm not like in America, I'm dark. In Africa, and some parts of Africa, I'm light. Tanzania, like if you go to the village, so on and so forth. But anyway, and that depends on like what group you're talking about. Obviously, different groups, you're going to have different complexions. But, for the most part, equatorial Africans are just darker than, let's say Jamaicans. Tanzania says, no one should follow someone who doesn't look like them. That's how you get white Jesus and Rachel Dolezal. Yep. Tanzania, Ketra says 100. And Bit of Medicine says 100. KW.7 says multiracials cannot hold leadership positions in Black liberation movement. And yet, this is what we're seeing in regard to this Afrocentricity. Which is like, is this Molefi Asante really betraying it, or is he enabling it? You understand? Because, again, the second in command is a multiracial, as KW.7 puts it. And then the Jared Ball, the journalist, the one who's covering them, the one who's engaging them, the one who's going to interview them later, is a multiracial. And the organization itself has a good relationship with it. Because like I said, I went to this conference, the government conference that I guess Abu Wali put together. And yeah, there were multiracials all over it. Didn't make sense to me. But like I said, from an American point of view, you're like, shit. African American point of view, you're like, I get it, That's my shit. She said she's speaking, he's preaching, black power, right? But from an African point of view, you're like, what the fuck's going on? Afrojam says, I would put the same 100, but my phone doesn't have that work. Might have to dig through my clipboards. Nah, it's okay, man. That's I just wouldn't admit that. Anyway, Afrojam says, HUC was founded by whites 9 times out of 10. Yeah, I know that. But anyway, so that's it pretty much. That's the question. So my question is this. I mean, like, so just to the real question, did he betray her? I can't really say that it looks like he did. It looks like being realistic about your financial situation in this country is that being realistic in this country is that taking the Democrats' money is just a normal thing in the university system. If black people are not funding the universities, if you're not funding the universities, taking political money is the normal thing. And the reality is that, look, if I go down to Africa and start a school, and then the president of this thing, the political party, the ruling political party wants to give me money for my school, like, I mean, technically, it's almost like it's not an ask. Afrojack says, only you were in the sun like that. Many Ghanaians and Nigerians are brown skinned in the UK. Yeah, possibly. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I think I was when I went to Ghana. I kind of went to one of the I lived with the people, like not in the city per se. A lot of people that escape, or not escape, but a lot of people that leave Africa might be. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Universities are run by liberals. Even many conservative whites will do this. Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. It's like we have to just understand that. Did he really betray it, or was his beliefs always like this? Was this really what Afrocentricity was about? And if that's the case, then him being tossed out of it, what does that really mean? And like I said, a part of it really comes back to this idea of, well, should black people, like I said, there's fundamental differences where it's like, should black people abstain from voting, or should black people get the Democrats in power and get more political money back? Because again, you're paying taxes in America. And the taxes are going towards educational endeavors, and the taxes are going towards professors being paid. And so the chair of the department is going to say, hey, I would like some more money for my Africology department, and I'll probably collect more under Biden than I would under Trump. I'll probably collect more if I have a Democratic congressman than if I have a Republican congressman. And that being said, why would, from a practical standpoint, from a realistic standpoint, why would the chair of the Africology department, who was about to retire, why would he not collect the check? Bit of Medicine says the concept wasn't solid to begin with, honestly, and that's the thing. If it wasn't solid to begin with, honestly, from the jump, if it really was this humanist idea, if it really was this, put African studies in the schools on all grade levels, teach about Imhotep, teach about Hannibal, teach about El-Andalus, teach about the truth, tell the truth to these white kids. If that was the philosophy from the jump, then why is this man being thrown out of his own organization? Y'all following? If he was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to look at your genealogy. It's really about your ideology. Kind of like what JN said. If it's like, it don't matter about your genealogy as much as your ideology. If you're about joining in the spirit of a human family, if you don't mind going on Jared Ball's show, Afrojam says science is worse. There are many studies which should be done, but aren't at all who will fund it? Exactly. And Afrojam says a guy that smart should have other ways to make money. Yeah, I mean, they rely purely on philanthropy. Yeah, Afrojam, that's the sad reality of the situation where black folk are broke wokes. I don't know if Lero's still here, but broke wokes are people who do not want to develop capital. And so what happens is that you have to rely on other people's capital. You have to rely on OPM, other people's money, or OPC, other people's capital. And that's really what it comes down to. Lero says, this better than Sunday service ever could be. I'm over here thinking for real, laugh my ass off. Yeah. I mean, it's complicated because, like I said, we look at it like, and we hear one side of the story, right? And I'm not saying that another, but like I said, I was blocked over this election shit. And like the thing that I want y'all to pick up on was where, Amwale says he didn't want to agree with Malcolm. Now imagine you being a professor, 50 years, 90 books, and somebody comes along and says, "Oh, you don't agree with Malcolm." Someone says you don't agree with Malcolm. So you think Malcolm was wrong? Now you a professor of 50 years. You know nothing against Malcolm X, right? I don't know if y'all heard that in the background, but anyway, nothing against Malcolm X. But you're a professor of 50 years. You feeling yourself. I'm a Molefi Asante, bitch. I created Afrocentricity, and now you're gonna tell me Malcolm X is like I can't think for myself? I'm telling y'all. I see the comments still rolling in. I was trying to, and to play a neutral argument here. Trigger Happy says to play a neutral argument here, but could it be that those in the organization shifted from his ideology if they kicked him out, or do they still align with his ideas? Well, here's the thing. It's like if you had this, like I said, from an African American perspective, Amazon was a sister, right? So if you had this sister in charge, you kind of agreed with this idea that genealogy wasn't important, and you still agree with the idea of genealogy is important. In fact, one of the contradictions is this. Like I said, they're like, oh, now that Molefi Asante is stepping out, he's going to put either a white woman or Amazama as charge of the Africology department. They're like, there shouldn't be a white woman. Now it's a public institution, publicly funded institution, right? Now I'm not going to say I agree with a white person being in charge of the Africology department, but that's me saying genealogy is important. But then you say, well, I don't mind if a mixed person is. Now, again, I could be wrong, and Amazon is not mixed. I could be wrong. I don't know. Respect this. Respect the lady, right? But I'm just saying, from an African point of view, looking in, it just seems like it doesn't make no damn sense that either of them would be in charge of the Afroecology department. Let's see. Yeah. So, and I don't know if they shifted from his ideology, but again, that's been the organization. So why would you shift from the organization? That's the question. Tanzan says traditionally Africans were friendly with their neighboring tribes and they were hospitable to strangers and foreigners as they regarded the Muzungu. Traditionally Africans were friendly with the neighboring tribes and they were hospitable to strangers and foreigners as they regarded the Muzungu. Yeah, I mean, yes, some people. No, actually, I'll actually go back and I'll tell you that there's this book called Ibn Battuta, and some Africans were killing white folk on sight, but some Africans weren't. Okay, so Ibn Battuta records that. No, sorry, did I say Africans on sight? I meant like they were killing Arabs on sight. But there were some groups that were against them. Yes, but then there were some that weren't. And mostly the coastal people were about trade, and the non-coastal people. Realistically speaking, I go by this point of view that ecology has an impact on psychology. Like everything has humans just like animals, or humans are animals. And we all kind of develop our ideologies based off of our ambiance, our surrounding. The zoo lion does not behave like the jungle lion or whatever you want to call it, the savannah lion. And just to say, the coastal African doesn't behave like the isolated African. Either way, yeah. So traditionally Africans were friendly, so on and so forth. Oh yeah. So what I want to say about that too is that's the thing I want to say about Trigger Happy too. What Trigger Happy just said. Did they kick him out of the organization after they shifted the ideology? This is why you have to build with like minds, and like minds does not mean that you both agree in one simple thing. Like minds means that fundamentally and at your core you agree on the important things, because this can happen where if you look at it from his perspective, because somebody else wrote this on Twitter, they were like, damn, can you imagine being in an organization for 20 years and then getting kicked out suddenly? For an organization with pretty much your name on it. I'm telling you, because from his perspective, this is his organization. Some people don't agree with his line of argument that he's been promoting for 20, 30 years. They suddenly don't see that's a good idea anymore. And they're going to throw him out of his organization for his underling, from his perspective. That he's maintaining an Africology department. He's getting the resources and the funds from abroad. Nobody else is hustling like he is. He's writing 90-something books to express his point of view. It's an international organization with his ideology on it, and then they kick him out of it for being too much like himself. And so it really comes back to what happened earlier in regard to, our good friend Arthur, where it says, if somebody really doesn't agree with you so fundamentally, then do not even give them the illusion that you would build with them. Because the reality is that when you do build something with them, one of you is going to lose out, if not both of you. Because everybody loses out from this debacle. Amazama, I don't know if I didn't read it to y'all, but Amazama loses like some shrine that they put it on her. Like she had a shrine in his basement, and Molefi's on his basement. He threw it out and put it on her lawn, right, and like in garbage bags. A lot of the graduate students there lost their tenure, can no longer afford to so on and so forth. And then of course Amazama, who's been working there, she's one of the 2 qualified professors. She's her job's now in jeopardy. You don't win when you try to compromise on fundamental issues. I want y'all to understand that. So you have to get the fundamental issues out, and that's why, like I said, y'all should really be purchasing my book in mass so that I could be like, let me write a fucking ideology book. People want it. You understand? If you don't have a copy of the Book of Power, go and get it. Go and get it. Let me see what the comments are going. Comments are still going. What's going on, bro, fam? Lero says mutes broke woke. Afrojam says Muzungu was not treated good. That is in the past 1,000 years. I don't know about that, but anyway, Lero says, duh, he don't agree with Malcolm. Look at his career. Laugh my ass off. Yo, y'all be hating on this dude. But it's his organization, though. That's the thing. Like, the thing is this: you're free to not agree with Malcolm X as long as you're not a Nation of Islam. You understand? If you're not a Nation of Islam, you don't have to agree. Like, that's the thing about organization. In organization, you just have to agree with the leadership. And if you don't agree with the leadership, do not organize with the people. You don't have to agree with Malcolm X. He's not your leader. In fact, Malcolm X passed away. Real talk. But like, you don't have to, like, if you don't have to agree with the UNIA if you're not a UNIA. You don't have to agree with the NAACP if you're not in the NAACP. You don't have to agree with Black Lives Matter if you're not in the Black Lives Matter. Nobody can come to you and say, hey man, you don't agree with Lady Patrice, whatever her name is, right? You don't agree with her. Nobody cares. You're not in a group. And when you're in a group, then either you follow suit or just don't go in the group. It's like Black Lives Matter comes out to your face and tells you, yeah man, we really about this LGBT stuff. Then just don't fucks with them. They told you what they were about. And see, the thing, like I said, black folk try to force things together. And when you try to force things together, somebody loses. You don't win that way. But y'all not paying attention to me. Like I said, if you look at it, yeah, y'all not paying attention to me. Tanzan says, there was a distinction between tribes and foreigners. Even Egyptian Kemet acknowledged racial difference. Yeah, I know that. Kenta says he threw Malcolm under the bus for those dollars. Now, again, like I said, Malcolm passed. It's not like, but Afrojam says Kemeti were certainly not friendly to outsiders in the beginning. No. Tanzan says the foreigners were treated with hospitality until they turned around and showed their face. Then the Africans changed tones. Also, Madagascar, those people were invaded 2,000, 3,000 years ago. They were not friendly to Africans, but mixed with them. Let's see. They were not friendly to Africans, but mixed with them. Genuine Africans, Real Black General says, genuine Africans never embraced outside culture. Why would we? The original is the best, right? Black Medicine Podcast said the ideology on the surface made sense, but just under the surface, you see where it didn't stand on anything solid. Afrojam says, yes, a trading culture doesn't embrace non-Africans because of ancestral worship. Trading culture does, but trading doesn't. Traditional doesn't. Okay, that's a... Sorry, my phone is bugging out. Okay, that makes sense. Trigger Happy says, but I don't know if it's as simple as that. Some interior cultures had trading economies too. All right. Trigger Happy says, will we get to the Jared Ball stream as well? No, I'm not gonna do that shit because, like I said, I'm gonna get in trouble. Just even showing these streams. Afrojam says many seafaring cultures were very into it via trade and immigration. But almost all of them are less than 1,000 years old on the eastern coastline. The north was outright invaded. Get y'all a copy, fam. You get to selling y'all, get y'all a copy. Make sure y'all do that. Lero says, bitter medicine facts. Eventually, the ideology contradicts its intentions if you really analyze it. Afrojam says, is a reason Malagasy people never took over any land on the mainland. Swahili were the products of that mixture. So anyway, So yeah, that's pretty much it, fam. That's the gist of it. Did he betray the Afrocentricity? Doesn't really look like it. It looks like there's a political feud around the funding issue and the chairmanship issue, and it's bubbling over. But it really comes back to, a fundamental difference of African culture versus African humanism, mixedness versus purity, all those sort of things. And it's like, you really got to get those things out of the way from jump and make your beliefs known. Just make your beliefs known and then just outright tell people, look, I'm not going to work on anything that benefits. Like, I'm not going to work and be an underling of a mixed person. I'm not going to work and be an underling of a Christian. Just be outright, be upfront. And the reality is this: some people are going to say, look, I won't work with you until you change your mind. And then you're just never going to work with them. But you could also try to force the unity. You could say, hey, you know what? I don't mind being with mixed people. I don't mind being with Christians. I don't mind, so on and so forth. And then you're going to have this explosion. Somebody's like, hey, look, I could get money from the Democrats. I don't give a shit. It's $2 million. You understand? And I mean, some of y'all are like, oh, $2 million, that's it. First off, you know how much a professor costs? So you have to pay a professor maybe 60, 70, 80, 90. I don't know how much money they get, but let's say $80,000, $90,000, right? You have to pay 4 professors, $360,000. You have to pay for the rent, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. That's money. And if you're like donating, I don't know, you're donating $100, right? You're not even paying for a lecture. Y'all don't want to hear that. All right, fam. That's really the end of the conversation, I guess. Let me see, my mic's working. Yeah. So thank you for joining me this week. I think it was fun. I think it was worthwhile. I like that there was quite a few people. If y'all have any other questions or comments, let me know. But other than that, Shamiam Hotep, Anku Ja Senab Neb, Amen Ma'at Dua Necher.